Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Co-Optional Podcast. Welcome. Hi. What's up?
Hello.
We're missing somebody.
We are
missing somebody. He's conspicuous by his absence. He's in Peru, inciting a minor rebellion. So I've been told.
Well, it is called the Co-Optional Podcast, is it not?
Indeed. Today
I
is
made that fun for the first time, I'm
There
sure.
you go. I could call it the Cox Optional Podcast today, as he isn't here.
Also true.
And there was much rejoicing. Whatever the case, welcome to the Co-Optional Podcast. We do occasionally talk about video games. Our special guest today, the first pro gamer guest we have, as in the only person that's actually been good at a video game that has ever been brought onto the show. The one and the only iNcontrol. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I've been watching and listening for a long time. I'm not going to lie, the last time I had a good belly laugh was actually watching the animated version of Jesse Cox with Felicia Day on the show. That is funny as shit.
That's one of our special moments.
I don't know if she was in on it or not, but she did a good job making that as awkward as possible.
No.
She did not know that was going to happen.
That's her actual response. Good
that was an
amazing.
ambush. It was a pretty good one as well, and there's nothing that I like to watch more than seeing Cox get eviscerated.
It was literally like it started off looking totally normal, and then he was like, I'll be right back. And when he came back, it was like candles and a nice shirt. It was weird. It was super weird.
Yeah.
That was her reaction. That's what I like, is like, for a person like Felicia Day, who's been in a quadrillion awkward situations with people that are geeking out over her, then you usually like help them out, you laugh, you say something nice to like ease the tension with that person. But she just fucking, like with a sword, just right through his throat. Just like, wow, I wouldn't have gone with that. I thought that was really weird. He's just like,
Oh, was it?
that was my heart that you're calling weird. What are you doing? It was good.
It was just wonderful. It reminds me of that Simpsons scene where you can actually pinpoint the second where his heart rips in half. Just brilliant. Absolutely wonderful. Welcome to the Co-Optional Podcast. We do occasionally talk about video games. As I said, our guest is, of course, the master of evil geniuses himself, Mr. Jeff iNcontrol Robinson. For those who do not know what you do on a regular basis, Jeff, why don't you let them know?
So I'm a StarCraft 2 professional. I call myself everything. I was a full-time pro gamer, but now it's more like I do that if I can. Otherwise, I'm commentating, much like Mr. John Bain here himself. I'm hosting for things across the seas over in Europe and Sweden, that kind of thing, for DreamHack and ESL, WCS. And then when I'm not doing those, I like to call my golf Warhammer 40,000, which is a tabletop game, of course. But I'm a gamer through and through. I also buy all the big games that I get really excited about, Metal Gear Solid being some of my favorites, and I follow gaming. I try to be gaming embodied, basically.
Very cool. So you don't just play Minecraft, then?
I respect the crap out of Minecraft, but I'm more...
the diplomatic answer. That's what we like.
No, hang on, though. I'm getting to the part where people will probably hate me. The numbers for Minecraft baffle me. So I want the scientific community to get involved in this. Call of Duty has Twitter numbers, like ridiculous Twitter numbers, and YouTube, too, for gaming.
Yep.
They have, Nadeshot has freaking 500, almost 600,000 Twitter followers. For a gamer, that's ridiculous. I think that's ludicrous. The most for a gamer. A pro gamer. It's not like he also, by the way, is on reality television or something like that. No, nothing like that.
No, it's just literally a pro gamer. It's actually insane.
And then Minecraft is the other one that's nipping at its heels, if not passing it. I'll see this random person on Twitter. I'm like, what's this? And I click on their profile. 2.8 million followers. And I'm like, Jesus, this person must be the president of Peru or something. And you click on their account, and no, they're like, here's my Minecraft video. And you click, and I'm like, okay, clearly this guy is masturbating on webcam. Like, there has to be something crazy about this for why he has that many. And you watch his videos like, I have a sword. Let us go to here. A sheep, a goat. And that's the whole video. Like, the whole thing is just random Minecraft moments. And people are just like, get me more of this. Subscribe to everything. So that's my Minecraft. It's just weird.
I couldn't agree more with that. There was that big, I suppose, surge of videos for about at least a year where it's just like, my first night in Minecraft. I am going to quite literally commentate everything I am doing. And it's like
7 million views.
Yeah, it's like, QS, you guys are still watching this? And then eventually it started to kind of branch out from the standard Let's Play stuff where you'd actually have to, put a bit of effort in it. You'd have to either do a custom map or you'd have to do a fucking parody song. I found a channel a couple of days ago and I looked at the size of it and it had like 500,000 subscribers. Like, wow, this looks like a big channel. Looked at their most viewed video, 27 million. I'm like, holy shit. Looked at their recent videos, 6,000 views in 4 days. Like,
really?
Yeah. This channel...
Fall off from that?
Yeah. Is completely fucking dead. It seemed to get all its popularity from a couple of Minecraft parody songs, then no one gave a shit about anything else they did.
That's so sad to me when that happens.
That's like, now you interview that guy because he's got a tinfoil hat on, he's in a hut somewhere, and he's like, the internet forgot about me, but I'll write that song. They'll remember me again.
I'll write that next big hit.
500,000 subs and only 6,000 of them bothered to click on a link.
That is a terrible conversion ratio. I've never heard of anything that bad. Actually, it was a while ago. I think it was when Next Gen Tactics went through some real problems before they kind of they split off. They had like something ridiculous, like 600,000 subs, and they were getting maybe 3,000 views a video because those subs they're just dead numbers that came in from somewhere else. And Minecraft goes through these cycles where there'll be a new Minecraft channel just rises out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, it still happens. It still happens. It blows my mind. I'm like, Minecraft, God, you're just like, it's still up there. It's crazy.
They have like roiling tidal waves of audiences that just like crash in on a place, occupy it, and then the water kind of recedes and the person's left with just dry sand. I actually met...
Wow, that's really depressing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's
good?
the most depressing way to reference.
It's like I see my career in front of me just falling to dust around.
Well, that's why you got to branch out. You can't just be. It's a lesson to the kids out there. There's somebody right now who's about to wear a pink polo and videotape themselves playing Minecraft, and they're gonna get 28 million views. But you got to do more than that. You got to get drunk and do that. You got to ride a goat. Has anyone rode a goat and played Minecraft yet? There you go. 25 million views. You're welcome. It's from me. I actually met one of the co-creators of Minecraft. I can't remember his name. He's the guy, and I hope God damn it.
Sweetie McJordison. That's the guy, right? They're all Swedish.
Yeah.
They all sound like that.
Dude, I love you, by the way, if you watch this, and I do know your name, but right now I'm blanking on it. Long red hair.
Honest, I do remember
I know. Well, I do this to myself every time. But anyways, he, I'm on the middle stage at DreamHack. This was like 2 years ago, and people come up sometimes, like, "Hey, can I get a picture with you?" I'm like, "Sure," but I'm about to go live. So a guy comes up and says, "Hey, can I shake your hand, get a picture and an autograph?" I'm like, "Okay, yeah." And he says, or I say to him, like, and I'm in my like full-on diva mode, like I've got the microphone in, and I'm like, "Yeah, but like 1 minute, dude. Like, I'm a big deal right now, okay?" And he's like, "Sure." And he comes up, put our arm over each other. We Jeb, thank you guys. Yeah, thank you, chat. Jeb.
There you go.
And he's like, "Hey, big fan, love StarCraft. I love the work you do. Good job." And I was like, "Thanks, man. Really appreciate it." I was being nice. I'm playing up this part. But he goes home and he tweets about it. And when someone over a million Twitter followers tweets you, you get a notification, even if you're not following them. And I was like, "Oh Jesus, what is this? Why did I was like, "Oh my God, this is a big deal in my life right now." And I look in, and it's the picture of me with this guy, and I'm like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And I open up. He's one of the co-creators of Minecraft, and he's a super nice, humble, awesome guy who just made an amazing game, walks the earth, and does not like. He didn't like, "Hey, nice to meet you. I'm the co-creator of Minecraft," and then took his dick out and like just swatted me off the stage or something like that. He was just really nice about it, and I found out organically who he was, and I then nerded out. And thankfully, I avoided not being too big of a diva, because could you imagine if I was like, "Not right now, bub. And by the way, change your jacket. It's filthy. Thanks." Good Lord.
Oh, I can only imagine where that would have gone.
Just sad tweeting. Just Jeff was really mean to me.
StarCraft people are jerks. No. It's okay.
Yeah, man. How did we get here? How did this happen? How did we start talking about this?
We started with the whole monogaming idea. I think that's a lot of the people that were watching this show. I think were afraid. Oh, he's a StarCraft game. It's going to be 3,000 hours of StarCraft discussion. Not even 3 hours. 3,000.
So many tweets so many tweets from people being like, I hope you're ready to be on a podcast where they're going to talk about nothing but StarCraft and you're not going to know what's going on. And I was like, come on.
One, you watch StarCraft sometimes. Two, we don't. We talk about StarCraft everywhere else. This is the one place where we don't have to. It's
that's the thing. Is I was like, I mean, they do StarCraft a lot, but it's not like that's the only game that they know anything about. Like, that's so condescending to think.
Condescension from random people on Twitter? No,
never.
I had fun tweets yesterday.
Into, like the minute details of indie game. Like I watch this every week, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm out of my league a little bit. But then you guys also spend the other 80% of time completely off topic, talking about whatever the fuck, and I was like,
absolute bullshit. Yeah,
I'll fit right in. It'll be fine.
Absolutely, no doubt.
I can talk about anything. Yep.
Well, welcome to the Co-optional Podcast. We do occasionally talk about video games. Coming up in the show, we'll be talking about what we've been playing this week, which generally drags on for as long as we have any interesting topics. About 20 minutes of that is dedicated to whatever crazy fucking visual novel / pixel art game that Dodger's playing this week. Ruining fucking video games. And then, of course, we have the news, which is going to get extra brilliant because Ubisoft just announced that Watch Dogs will be running at 900p on PS4 and 792p on Xbox One at 30 frames per second. So imagine how much I'm gonna fucking gloat in the next 2 hours. This is gonna be brilliant. Oh, I'm on a real PC gaming master race binge lately.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the hidden gems of buying games is a lot of people don't have the choice between systems, but for those of us that do, not every game is created equal. Like, that's actually something that people just, I don't know. When I say people, I'm speaking to, I guess, the very generic person, but a lot of, myself included back in the day, I was like, well, clearly they'd make it the same for Xbox and PS4, right? Like, why would they ever give an advantage for one versus the other or the PC? But that's completely not the case at all. Like, you need to ask which system it's better for, because that's the one you should buy it for, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be PC.
It's pretty consistently, it's always PC. Yeah. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much.
Do you guys, I don't know. Okay, so this, I have a tough time playing games at my PC other than like the one or two absolute favorites. Not to make it too much, again, about StarCraft, but like when I'm at my PC, I play StarCraft. And if I have other games on it, I do play. Like I went on an XCOM binge for a long time there, but I don't know. It ends up being a sinkhole. I kind of gravitate to one game. But if I make the effort to get away from the computer and to go sit in the room where light's coming through, I can force myself to play other games too.
Yeah, you can't just be on your PC and be like, what should I play today? It's always like, I know exactly what I want to play, and it's always the same game.
It's become a problem for me because I associate the PC with work. So, then when I want to game it, I find like I have a huge library of stuff I could play, and I don't want to play any of it. It's just like sitting there, what should I play? And I don't know if you have these moments where you load into a game, like you say, right, I'm going to play this. You play it for about 5 minutes, and then you just stop. You lose all enthusiasm for it. And then you go back to the old standard. It's like, well, I guess Hearthstone's pretty good, or something along those lines.
For me, it's like this sense of guilt, not like overwhelming guilt, but because it's the same for me where like if I'm at my PC, I feel like I should be working. Then if I'm playing a game and I'm not recording it or like intending on doing some sort of a review of it.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, then I'm like, why am I playing this? I'm wasting time. I should be doing some sort of work. Right. I should play that other game. It's really, I have the same sort of thing where it's really hard for me to just like relax and play a game at my computer.
Yeah.
The other part of it too is when you're at your computer, because I don't have a million Xbox Live friends and nobody pays for anything on PS4 to play that online. So you don't have friends there either. I'm like disconnected socially when I play those games, which is kind of nice because I don't need to say this to gamers, but obviously a lot of gaming's pleasure is derived from disconnecting and being, in your own Zen space. But when you're at your computer, your Twitter is a tab away, your Skype is obviously open, like you're just constantly getting intel and information from people, and they have access to you too. And also, if you play your games on Steam, people are being notified you're playing other games. You're playing on Battle.net. No matter what game you're playing, people are letting you. They all know you're playing a game there too, so they can reach out to you.
Getting messages being like, "Hey, bro, you want to play together? Hey, I've been looking for somebody to play this game with me." You're like, "No, go away."
I just want to be by
I love you, but
myself.
leave me alone.
Which sounds super elitist, and it's definitely, this is a gigantic circle jerk of first world problems, but they are real.
Welcome to the Co-optional Podcast.
We occasionally talk about video games and first world problems.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, when gaming is your life, it's funny to complain about wanting to be alone because you're so popular. You know, like, God, all these people want to talk to me all the time. Like, so obviously I get it, but truth be told, I do prefer playing games on consoles that aren't the big games. The other thing too is I played Titanfall on Xbox One and on the computer. It's so much fucking better on the computer that it killed any motivation to play it on the Xbox One. So what ended up happening is I just don't play the game, actually. It killed the game for me because it's so good on the PC.
I mean, I think I've been keeping away from the next-gen systems even though I own them because up to this point there's been very little that I did want to play, and the stuff that I did want to play, which is basically Dead Rising 3 and Infamous, both ran like such utter horseshit that I didn't want to play them anymore. They actually patched the frame rate down in Infamous, if you can believe that. It was a kind of variable. It was anywhere between like 30 and 60. And in the starting area, it's like, oh, cool, this is like running around 60. You know, it's maybe not quite there, but it's close enough. You get that smoothness, and it looks good. It's like, oh, right, it's got some nice lighting effects. Get in the city, fucking 30 FPS. Like, oh, great, that's going to be some awesome melee combat I'm going to do. Yeah, feels like I'm fucking fighting my way through tar. And don't even get me started on Dead Rising 3 that couldn't even maintain 30 half the time. It was at like fucking 720p. And the controls for that game are garbage as well. And I don't have any enthusiasm for playing any of those games on that system. And frankly, I'd rather play some old PS2 games that actually run at 60 frames per second. They might look like dog shit, but at least they run like a modern title. And if it's going to be a multi-format game, then I'm always going to play it on PC. Always. Because it's always just going to be that better experience.
Yeah, I hear about this in all walks of life. Like, we have guys that do content for Evil Geniuses, and now that they work so much with cameras, which is again something I'm sure you both do too, now they can't
I try to
watch,
avoid it whenever I can.
Well, now when they watch like a lower quality any kind of video, they can't see past the issues of framing and the, you know, they have higher knowledge of that. For me, I did debate teams, so for a long time it's gone away because that was years ago now. So thankfully I'm a horrendous arguer at this point. But I used to be really good, really skilled. And back in the day, like when people would make poorly constructed arguments, it was like nails on chalkboard. I like would physically, like, what are you can't make that argument because I very obviously come over the top of you.
That's a fallacy. Yeah.
Yeah, this is straw man shit, the internet's favorite term for arguing. But
oh yeah, well I mean it's turned from people just go to Wikipedia or the so-called Wikilectuals that's just like, oh well I've got access to Wikipedia so I know everything, to I found this website called yourlogicalfallacyis.com and I'm just gonna fucking link you that shit every time. Like, well, maybe you should link me the fallacy, which states that pointing out fallacies in someone's argument doesn't necessarily fucking erode it.
Yeah.
It gets deeper though, because like I in my debate days, I really liked to run critiques, and critiques were like basically hippie talk in debate form. So if someone was like too heavy-handed about, you know, you are using a logical fallacy here and here it is, I would run like a critique, and I would loosely connect it to some philosopher at the time, where it was like, actually, by using this rhetoric that you're describing my actions as incomplete and bad and poor, you're actually dehumanizing my ability to participate in this activity, and thus you're alienating me from the social aspect of this game, and you are hurting my sense as a human being. And then I would shift it into this whole talk about how they were cutting into my soul because they were too good at arguing.
Emotional H-bomb right there.
Yes. Amazing. Oh, it was great, and it worked too, because usually you do that to like super genius robots from like MIT, and they'd be like, "But you're not supposed to have feelings," and then they'd come back with like, "I'm gonna run a disadvantage on critiques in functional argumentation," and then I'd be like, "That hurts my feelings too." And they just couldn't they couldn't engage emotionally. So, but once you enter that access of debate, or that entry point of debate. Then when you argue with your girlfriend or wife, or, you know, in other people's cases, boyfriend or whatever, it's hell, because they don't like arguing with you because you're just, you know, you're
insufferable.
Yes,
Worse.
you're a prick. And you don't like arguing with them because it's such poorly constructed arguments where they're like, well, I wanted you to want to wash the dishes, and you're like, ugh, like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't want to, but I did it. Isn't that good enough? And they're like, no,
it's not good enough. Oh, God. The psychology of that particular part of the relationship is something I'll never fully understand, and I just feel like I'm getting better at dodging bullets over time.
Yes. That's actually the better way to do it.
Yeah. It's less of actually dodging bullets and more being where the bullets are not. And I think there's an important distinction to be put between the two.
Yep.
You have to be Neo. You have to be able to just get out of the way and then recollect yourself. Be like, I saw that bullet just then. Are we having a problem? Should we talk?
What's tough about that, though, is to be Neo is he starts dodging. Okay, that's badass. But eventually, he just says, no, and stops the bullets. Can I get to that stage? Can an argument be thrown at me and I just turn around and go, no, and catch the argument and throw it back at him?
I think that's oh, hello. Oh, whoa, we just lost the Twitch stream. Interesting.
Oh no.
It literally just like went off. Let me see if I can fix that.
No.
Oh. Oh,
No,
nope.
Twitch.
Okay, we should be back up. Yeah, I mean, I'm running the local recording absolutely fine, but
yeah, that always trips me up when people are like, stream's down, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah, it was literally just Twitch falling over. From what I can tell, I should be back. Yeah, we're back online now. Everything should be fine.
Okay, cool.
It's just I've never seen that happen before. I've seen things like that happen before, like it's dropped frames. Whatever, it's just disconnected me from Twitch entirely. Like, oh, that's unusual. But,
you said Twitch was having problems.
Yeah, I was having problems before we even
right?
went live. I couldn't even get the Twitch broadcast dashboard to load properly, and then the chat was broken and a whole bunch of other shit. So yeah, it's fun times. But never mind. All right,
we are back.
We are indeed.
We're back. Should we talk about games we've played?
Yeah, we can do that. We can leave the whole Watch Dogs thing and gloating over the fact that the peasants will receive an inferior experience until a little bit later on, because that's a good piece of news. I've been on a binge with that PC Gaming Master Race thing lately. I spent most of the morning trying to rewrite Jay-Z's 99 Problems. So I'm just saying that.
Are you saying that because the song that you're rewriting is about Master Race, or are you saying that because you are...
as far as I'm aware, it isn't. Not to the best of my knowledge. But I've renamed it to 120 Hertz. Which is funny for two reasons, at least.
At least.
At least two.
At least two
I'll find more.
I'm sure there's plenty.
Indeed.
Off the top of my head.
I like to be conservative about my parody raps when possible.
Understandable.
Okay.
God, I'm so white. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the games that we have been playing this week. Jeff's the guest. Why don't we start with you? What you been up to? And don't say StarCraft.
No, yeah.
Have you been playing some StarCraft?
Some StarCraft.
You guys checked out Heart of the Swarm of the Great? No, not so much. Well, do you? Am I supposed to be really cool and talk about new games I played, or just games I played?
No.
Any game you've been playing.
Games that you have played that are interesting in some way.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to go the tabletop route for a second. I haven't played any Warhammer for 3 weeks, but I finally got to play some. And I discovered that practice actually is beneficial there as well. Because I hadn't played in some time, I made some mistakes and got my ass handed to me by some Tau players. And
Forgot all the rules.
I have never been able to get into Warhammer. I only ever got to the point where I was like, I got all these little figurines that I get to paint, and then that was it. It was like as far as I ever got. I was like, I'm gonna make these all perfect, and then it just died.
That's what's kind of cool about it, and I've used this like line of talking a few times, but part of the reason why people that do get into it really enjoy it is because you can't half-ass it. It's expensive. It takes a lot of time to paint. And in order to know enough of the rules to be anywhere near competent or honestly just to play, you involved a lot of time. You put a lot of time into it. So everyone that got past those hurdles are all about Warhammer. They're like, holy crap, this is awesome because I've gotten all the work out of the way and now I'm involved. I'm committed and I like it. So it's very similar to StarCraft in the sense that StarCraft is not a game where you just play it and then in the first 5 minutes you're like, God, mining is so fun actually, and this guy told me I'm a homo and hates me, and this is just a great experience. Like it's getting past that into the deeper levels of the game that you derive pleasure from. So that's a lot of Warhammer for me.
I haven't played actual Warhammer in a very long time because it unfortunately involves people and having miniatures that haven't been eaten by the dog. I didn't feel like rebuilding my Thousand Sons army after my previous dog ripped my land raider to pieces.
I'm not gonna lie, I've thought about ways to try to drag you back into it, much to the dismay of I'm sure your time and money. But I want you to get back involved. The community is starting to get more kind of off the ground. They're making YouTube content. It's adorable. It's still garages. It's still hand cams. It's still like people that haven't spoken on camera. So like, he obviously shouldn't have shot his shot here. And you're just like, oh god, you've got so long.
Things like production values and how to present that in a way that actually makes sense is difficult. Most people didn't really know how to make videos about board games before tabletop came along, and people are gonna suddenly like jump on me because but the dice tower. Yes, we are well aware of the dice tower, but let's be honest, like production values wise and presenting it to a wider audience is what tabletop managed to do.
In a very clear
really, really
way.
Yeah, very, very clear way with excellent production values. Dice Tower stuff's good, don't get me wrong, but it's obvious that tabletop's cream of the crop. And Warhammer doesn't have an equivalent, really.
Not yet.
No.
We're working on it, and that's why I'm going to drag you back to the depths of Warhammer Hell. But like, what I like about tabletop is that the production value is really clean and good, so it's aesthetically very fun to watch and nice. Will Wheaton's obviously an amazing host, but also he uses his strength of inviting celebrities, like gaming celebrities, on there, so it's got a better chance at introducing this awesome game to more people, or games, excuse me, to more people as well, because maybe you wouldn't watch it because you don't care how, Tokyo, what is it called?
Tokyo Jungle? No.
Yeah.
No.
It's a terrible game.
No, that's a PlayStation 3 game involving Pomeranians. That's not the same thing at all.
Tokyo Jungle?
King of Tokyo, I assume, is what we're talking about there.
Yeah, King of Tokyo. I don't know why I specified that game. I know they did an edition on it. But anyways.
Tokyo Jungle board game. I would fucking buy the shit out of that.
So I'm actually thinking about that now. You have like this whole huge dystopian city that you lay out, and then you have to just like make your way through the city.
Little plastic Pomeranian with a stat sheet. That would be fantastic.
You little Pomeranian and be like.
Anyways, a board game. But I like that you would not necessarily just watch it for that, but you would also come in to see some of your favorite personalities play. So it grows it too. I feel like in gaming there's a strong sense of like prophesizing it and sharing it with other people because it gives you so much pleasure and fun, and I like that spirit in a lot of games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you play, could you play a game of Warhammer over Skype?
You could. It would be hilarious. Yeah, because there's a lot, it makes sense. The game is very imprecise in the sense that, you'll measure 7 inches, but maybe it's 7.5, maybe it's 6.75. It's, there's humans playing it, and it's inches, and, so there's a lot of subjective and kind of random things involved. So the game becomes a big debate as well. And as long as you're playing with friends or good people, which is 99% of the time, that's a fun part of it. You're like, I don't know about that. And can you see it? And you have to measure from the eyes of the model, and you measure from the gun or the hold of the ship, that kind of thing. But if you did it over Skype, you'd be like, oh, no, you're just out. And the other guy's like, I don't know. Can you put the webcam on that? I'm not sure. And he's like, yeah, sure. And
that's like... once a few of us moved away from my college town, we were like, let's keep our D&D game going. Like, we can just do it over Skype. And then it turned into this weird thing where it was like, I rolled a 20. And it's like, can you show us that? Put the camera on it. We want to see. Like, suddenly no one trusted anyone. It was like, Did you, though? Did you move it? Did you change the number? It's like, damn, come on, guys.
If I recall, there was a game for the PS3 that came out fairly early on called The Eye of Judgment, which solved this issue of kind of playing a physical game across the internet by forcing you to put down this playmat. And it came with this little stand that you put the PlayStation Eye webcam in that pointed down on the damn thing. And you would get to see...
God, I remember this.
Yeah, and it was a kind of cool idea because you put the card down, it would actually conjure it out of the card on the screen. So it was like a very early example of augmented reality stuff before the things like the 3DS actually started doing that in a big way. But I'm fairly sure it was still possible to cheat horribly, and you could just print the fucking cards out instead of having to collect them, and you could bullshit all sorts of things on that.
There's all kinds of... There was like Magic emulators too that you could play online, which is really cool. But because it was like a ripoff, you had access to every single card. So a lot of the mystique of the game was gone. Like whatever deck you had was just a copy pasta from some other pro.
Apprentice was one of them, wasn't it? And I think we used to play on Octagon for a while. We used to play that in the WoW TCG on Octagon, and that was pretty cool. But as you said, a lot of bullshit can occur, and that kind of stuff is going the way of digital now. And I think Warhammer's kind of weird in that respect that it's not. I mean, we all know Games Workshop is a stick in the mud company when it comes to that kind of stuff. Their recent announcement was the absolutely fantastic and much desired Warhammer 40,000 Chess, which is coming out on iOS and PC and was just officially announced today.
I'm not gonna lie. If you would have said they're coming out with a physical board, I'd drop that probably $300 that they'd spend on that. Like, they're so overpriced too. They're like, $500. I'd be like, sure, man, I don't give a shit. That's cool.
There are apparently hundreds of motion captured animations for this fucking thing. It's like, great. Yeah, it's very important that this chess game is set up with all these motion captured fucking actors and everything. They're calling it Regicide, by the way, which is cute for anyone that's read the Expanded Universe novels. But yes, they're using military-trained fight and stunt choreographers to ensure hundreds of handcrafted kill and death animations are properly realized. It's a fucking chess game!
Hey, dude. Don't be knocking that.
Go home, right?
You guys remember the old school game? This is when I was like 10, so you guys were like 28, I think. But no, I'm just kidding. We're all the same age. But Battle Chess, on the Mac
original
back
Battle
in the day,
Chess
was actually the sickest game ever, and that's probably a big part of the reason that I got into chess as a kid. Like, it was really cool. It wasn't we don't need to take it to that level. Like, it was just like, the knight would walk over and chop the head off the queen, and that was pretty cool.
That was
for
awesome.
10 or 12-year-old.
Yeah. There was Battle Chess 2, which allowed you to have various boards in various time periods. I'm pretty sure there's a futuristic one and one of the Shogun era. I remember, I think Star Wars Monopoly as well was really well put together. There was all these licensed versions of board games that came out at that time that actually weren't too shabby. But the recent spat of, we're just going to give our license to fucking anybody in particular and let them make absolute shit. I don't know if you downloaded it, Jeff, but save yourself the trouble and fucking don't. Warhammer 40,000 Carnage came out a few days ago on iOS. It's basically a side-scrolling kind of runner game with a space marine and a fucking bolt pistol running through levels shooting Gretchen. It is the dumbest shit. And of course it has microtransactions, plenty of those. So if you want to buy yourself some more currency to get a bigger bolter, you fucking can. Although it hasn't stopped it sounding like a goddamn Derringer pistol instead of the holy fucking wrath of the Emperor spewing forth from its most sacred barrel.
No, Warhammer stuff actually falls into the same category as games based on movies. Specifically, games games that are released pre-movie, made obviously for that movie. Those are the shittiest games you can ever buy in your entire life. Worst games ever. And it's still I fell into that trap like twice. I was like, back when 10 years ago in Transformers, I was like, I'll buy the Transformers game. You would like just be running and fall through the ground, and then your torso is running through the ground. Like, it was horrible. And we all have a million examples, but for Warhammer, every one-off thing they come out with, other than their canon books, which are pretty okay, especially some authors over others. Actually, it's just that. So far, it's just been their books. Everything else is shit. Space Marine was like, okay,
Space Marine is pretty good.
Total geek. Yeah.
And I am.
And I'm
question.
I like it.
Yes.
Since I asked this question when we talked about Star Wars, I'm going to ask a similar question again. If you wanted to get into the Warhammer books, where would you start?
Eisenhorn.
Dan Abnett. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing. Eisenhorn and Ravener. And what's cool about it is they're standalone. Like, you don't need to know anything about Warhammer to enjoy them. They're just gritty, grim. They're just good sci-fi. Really fun.
Yeah. Dan Abnett has a lot of history with writing, actual respected comic books and universes, i.e. Marvel in 2000 AD. And then he got into writing some stuff for Games Workshop. And as a direct result, pretty much everything he has released for Games Workshop has been head and shoulders above anything else that anyone else has written. And it's all really, really good. And Eisenhorn in particular, as you said, you can read Eisenhorn with no knowledge of the 40k universe. And some of the terminology is going to sound a little bit weird, but it's just a good kind of... I mean, you'd almost compare it to a kind of gumshoe detective sort of thing, but also, with the righteous fury of the Emperor and the condemnation of the heretics.
Slice of badass.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
He eventually succumbs to an injury that won't let him smile. Just to like. Every guy's like, wow, it's so badass. He can't smile, but it's really cool. Read that, and if you like it,
really funny though.
Then get Ravener, which I actually think I might have enjoyed more, but I could not have enjoyed it without having read Eisenhorn. But
Ravener's basically Professor Xavier in the 40k universe, down to the even I can't walk and I'm stuck in a chair kind of thing.
Except it's a Warhammer spin on it, because
Oh yeah,
Like,
it's grim,
like
dark as shit.
Like,
Yeah.
well-suited guy in a floating chair, like, I'm thinking of a plan right now. Ravener is a charred, burnt into a human egg sack, just not even a human anymore because it's been burnt so harshly, kept inside of a black capsule because you can't look on him because if you would vomit, and that capsule can shoot off laser beams. So
yes, it has a fucking psi cannon strapped to it. Yeah, it is grim, dark as shit. He is barely alive, and if he was exposed to the atmosphere, he'd pretty much die immediately. So he's in this life support wheelchair thing. So he's a black box that flies around the universe solving crimes.
Yeah, no one
because
can
he has
smile.
no face anymore, none whatsoever.
Damn it, Dodger! That was a really good point. I did not think of that. Both of them cannot smile.
There you go. That Caiaphas Cain, or Caiaphas Cain, some people prefer to pronounce it, is a kind of comedy. It's a more light-hearted take on the 40k universe about the so-called hero of the Imperium that never deliberately does anything to actually win these battles, but ends up doing so anyway through a series of misadventures. That's pretty good. I mean, a lot of the 40k fiction is pretty bad. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, those three series in particular, absolutely worth getting into.
My friend who is like Reese Robbins, he runs Frontline Gaming, which is our competitive team, and in the shop I play at. He coined the term for these books, war porn. I can't give him that credit. I had heard it for the first time, war porn. A lot of these books do just end up being like, oh god, Space Marine walks in, fucking 8 feet tall, muscles out of everywhere.
There are some writers who are really bad about that. I think all the Ultramarines books are pretty much that. And it's just like all the time just talking about like, look at how amazing Space Marines are. Fuck.
And I actually can, my wife Anna had me read the first Twilight book. That's as far as I got. But it's very similar.
That far.
I liked it because it's funny to have this perspective because when you read Twilight, it's like, and she walks in, she's beautiful, really good looking girl, great eyes, good smile, very pretty. Guy walks in, was chiseled from the icebergs of Antarctica. Like it just goes, and I'm reading this book and I'm like, my penis is inverting right now.
It's trying to escape back into your body just to get away from this.
Please no.
When girls are like, oh, so good, the emotion that she captures, the main character is really good.
There's a great, I think it was on either Oatmeal or Hyperbole and a Half, I can't remember who, they both do kind of similar styles, that did a comic on Twilight, and they basically described the main character as pants. She's not a real person. She's a pair of pants that the girl who is reading it puts on and becomes that character. She is a vapid husk of a character designed to allow you to live out your fantasy of being that person.
It's just like an any harem anime. It's a dude with no personality whatsoever that has all of these women being like, "You're so hot. I want to touch your butt so bad." And then guys who read it are like, "Yeah,
I like the fact that there's a name for that, harem anime. That's Jesus, Japan.
God, well done, everyone. This is
we did it, humanity. We're making good shit.
Oh my god. Have you played any actual video games this week?
No, actually. I've been meaning to get around to Metal Gear Solid, which...
Ground Zeroes? Well, that shouldn't take you too long.
It's an hour and a half, but the idea titillates me so amazingly well that, it comes out, the reporters are like, yo, this game's really short, what's with that? And he's like, well, it's a game before the game, and we want people to get used to the new mechanics. And they're like, oh, you released a whole game for that? And he's like, yes, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I was supposed to retire 10 years ago. Remember that? The last Metal Gear Solid game? This is it. That's it. Did anyone buy that for 2 seconds?
No. Not in any
way.
Then
the next year...
Can't get Kojima out of that shit. The Kojima World Order cannot be so easily dismantled. Trust me.
But I'm excited. Anyways, I haven't played it yet, but it's sitting over there. I will play it soon. I know that it's not going to take long, but I'm a sap for gorgeous games. I love Metal Gear Solid, even though they've gotten a little bit further away from kind of the sabotage stealth stuff, which I never totally got into, but I thought it was adorable that they tried to. I still killed everyone in all the games that I played.
Of course.
Because that's the way you're supposed to play games as far as I'm concerned.
I would tend to agree. Did you play Revengeance, Metal Gear Rising?
Yes.
What, as a Metal Gear Solid fan, what did you think of that? Because I don't care in any way about Metal Gear Solid. I didn't really play the games coming up to this. I didn't have consoles at that time. So when I played Rising, I only played it because it's a Platinum game, and I fucking love Platinum as a developer, and I enjoyed the shit out of that game. But some people, apparently, who are really into Metal Gear Solid were not exactly into Revengeance. What did you think of it?
The reason I was okay with that game is because it is so incredibly clearly and blatantly not a Metal Gear Solid game that it's just those characters, loosely that storyline, that style, done in action format, Bayonetta, obviously, that I was completely okay with it. If they like tried to add a little bit of, oh no, it is a Metal Gear Solid game because here's a puzzle about how do you get from this doorway to the other doorway without alerting anybody. If they would have done that kind of stuff, then I'd have a problem, I guess. But I organically experienced the Psycho Mantis pull out your controller, plug it into the other one. So from that moment in time, I became a Metal Gear Solid priest or whatever. Like I am all about that game. And this game came out, and it, like I said, it was so clearly not that. And by the way, if it was a shitty game, I think a lot of people would have a very tough time with it. I think more, because the bar is set for Metal Gear Solid games in that world, whatever, that it's excellent. If you buy a game that has anything to do with that series, it's going to be an excellent game. This one was pretty good. And that's not speaking to the handhelds, by the way. I don't touch that shit with a 20-foot pole. Some were good, I heard. But
you didn't enjoy Metal Gear Acid, the strange tactical card game, third-person role-playing thing that had a set of 3D goggles that you put on top of your fucking PSP? You didn't like that?
Just right now? That actually happened?
That is it. That is real. I am not making that up at all. That is fucking real.
Well, okay, so I still stand by everything I said. I'm just pretending those don't exist. But
well, that's why it was called Metal Gear Acid, because that's what the fucking developer was eating.
Yeah, and it's what you need to be on to enjoy it, I guess, too.
I would tend to agree, yeah.
The goggles, like, take a life and start standing up, and they're like, hey, you gotta be careful. And you're like, thank you, Solid Snake. Oh, my God. This is so fun.
Metal Gear Acid
they did have a lot of things. Like, the God of War franchise went handheld, too, and those games... Mm-hmm. My friend played it. I hung out with him while he was playing it, and they're just poorly designed. You get to a part where it's like a wall that you can't jump up.
Oh, are you talking about the ones that were made for the PSP rather than the ports to the Vita? Things like, what was it? Chains of Olympus?
Yeah.
They're made by Ready at Dawn.
I was going to say, I never had a problem with any of the console ones, but I heard that the handheld ones were real jank.
They were impressive for the fact that they were on PSP. And people thought that kind of couldn't be done, that you couldn't make a really good character action game on PSP. Turns out you can't, but you can make a decent approximation of one, which is what Chains of Olympus was, and there was a follow-up, Ghosts of Sparta, I believe. Mm-hmm. And they were blatantly cut down, They were lacking many, many things, very small levels, limited amounts of weapons and enemies on screen, not so great frame rate. The camera was pretty dodgy, too. They eventually got remastered, and then you could play them on PS3, but even then it just makes it even more obvious that they just weren't as good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a bad stigma too. I feel like games that were AAA made to be amazing and big, but then get ported down to a handheld. I don't know. God dang it, I'm blanking on the name now. Or Kingdom Hearts. That might be. I heard that was okay on the handheld.
I think you get away with it because it's an RPG, especially considering over the last few years, the 3DS and the Vita have become real homes for JRPGs. You've got things like Bravely Default that came out quite recently. Obviously, the Persona games on the Vita. There's Persona games now coming out for the 3DS as well. Basically, if you don't like JRPGs, the Vita has been a real pain for you over the last 6 months.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Japanese fucking games.
Thinking about it now, the Vita would really not serve anybody except people who like... Nope. JRPGs.
I hope you like Danganronpa and a bunch of weird JRPGs, stuff like NES and XC, because otherwise there's no point you out in the fucking system. So I think like a game like RPGs kind of get away with it, but you play the character action game on there, it always ends up being, and this was the same with Chains of Olympus, as well as I think more recently, if you look at... was it? Oh damn! What was the name? Was it a Resistance game or a Killzone game that came to the Vita? It was a
Killzone, right?
Oh yeah,
no,
yeah. They both came, and one was bad.
Yeah.
So there was Resistance Burning Skies, which fucking sucked. But then there was a Killzone Mercenary, was the name of it.
Yeah.
And those games, especially the first-party developed ones, always seem to be like, this is a showcase of what our handheld can do. They did it on the PSP with God of War. They've been doing it for fucking ages on all sorts of different handheld systems. Killzone Mercenary was probably the best example, I think, of any of them. They did a pretty good job of making that actually work on a PlayStation Vita, but there's no way to escape the fact that if this were on a console or a PC, it would be a better video game. And then you've got other stuff like Resistance Burning Skies, which sucked, and oh god, the god-awful Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, which is the worst game for the PlayStation Vita that exists. Like, when G4 still existed in a real way, it gave it 0.5 out of 5. It got a 1-star review on Giant Bomb. It's just so awful.
Good.
Dude, you touched on something, though. Resistance, there's a franchise/game that I really enjoyed when it first came out for the PS3. And it's gone by the way of Metallica now, where like I refer back to it as a great game that came out but progressively got worse and worse, and now they could come out with another one, I won't even think twice about picking it up. No, it's probably so stupid.
They need to really work on it. The problem is that, especially with Resistance 3, they had some interesting ideas. They went a bit more towards kind of old school design, where it's like, yeah, wander around the levels a bit. Why not? There's going to be some secrets to find, and there's going to be health drops, not necessarily regenerating health. Like, oh, that sounds kind of okay. So I think they could make another good Resistance game, but whether they will is a different matter entirely. And
You've convinced me. I'll pick up the next one.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, honestly, though, it was never like...
at all. So easy.
It was never like Resistance was an incredible game to begin with, Resistance Fall of Man, I think, is only as well known as it is because it was literally the only thing worth playing on the PS3 when it came out. Well, that and Motorstorm was pretty good, too. Outside of that, everything else, especially things that came out like Lair. Lair was marketed as this incredible game. Oh my god, this is why you buy a PS3. You're a fucking dragon, and you steer your pad around like this. What a fucking waste of space that game was. Absolute disaster.
What was the God of War ripoff that came out at the same time for PS3 where you're a chick and you steered things that you threw? I know you know what I'm talking about. It's a big game. It's a big AAA. You're a chick.
Yeah, there's a few of them. You're not talking about X-Blades, I assume.
No. Okay. No, it's like a direct ripoff. I mean, like, it's almost from the same Greek world.
Wasn't Bullet Witch.
Someone in chat knows. Heavenly
Sword. Oh, yeah.
Was that it?
Was it Heavenly Sword? Because that was like 3 hours long. That game.
Let me see.
I don't think Heavenly Sword was absolutely.
I don't think it's Heavenly
Sword.
To be fair, God of War wasn't that long either.
God of War was padded. Like, hey, you want to spend 2 hours getting stuck on this fucking puzzle, pulling levers? Then, yeah.
This guy nailed it. It's Heavenly Sword.
Sword.
Yeah, it takes place in like pseudo Japan.
Yeah, it's about 3 hours long. It was supposed to be, again, the tech piece. It's like, wow, this is going to be a killer app for the PlayStation 3, and it never ended up being that. Funnily enough, I think on the PS3's launch, there was a Genji game that was the whole giant enemy crab thing, if you remember that from back in the day. It was Genji, and I was really sad because I played the original Genji on PS2. It's one of the most impressive-looking PS2 games that exists. Like, it looks incredible. It's got this really nice counter system. The art style is great, aesthetically pleasing. Not a very long game, maybe about 4 hours, but pretty damn cool. And then I was so hyped for the second version of Genji, and it ended up being a fucking disaster. Genji Days of the Blade was the name of it. They even ruined the main character and everything. Oh, it was so depressing.
That's terrible.
So sad.
Also, when PS3 came out, another game that I played that everyone that is enjoying Dark Souls owes to is Ninja Gaiden. And that was when I first truly knew hatred. Like, that was when that's when I accepted that a game could make you so mad that you could punch a hole in a wall, you could break a controller. Like, I've never been that guy, I never understood it, but that game is so infuriatingly hard. And then what's worst about it is that because at the time, obviously, I still played StarCraft, I would check forums, we'd be talking about the game, and there's those guys that are like, oh yeah, maxed out difficulty, beat it in like 2.5 hours, didn't die once. I didn't find it that hard at all. And you're like, you wanted to grab your mom and be like, you're lying, and you know it. Like,
it's like you're either lying or you're not fucking human. Choose which one of those it's gonna be.
Dude, yeah, my brother and I would just sit and pass the controller back and forth and just try desperately to like get through that game. It was so fun though.
Boss. The first the
first boss was a bitch.
The first guy, he's sitting cross-legged, he stands up and he's just like, I'm gonna own the next 2.5 hours of your life. And you're like, no! First fucking boss.
Yep.
So hard.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it was misery. And then, like, after that, you realize, whoa, I wish I could go back to his level of difficulty because holy fuck, the shit this game is throwing at me now.
I did not beat that game. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I made it to the guy that comes out of the flaming house, which is like the third boss. Like, this is not a great story for me as a gamer, but yeah, that's where I stopped. I think I gave it like 2.5 days, but I just got tired of literally just dying to the same guy over and over again.
You can play all those games on PlayStation Vita now. They're better versions, with the exception that you're playing it on a PlayStation Vita, which makes you more likely to toss that expensive piece of hardware at a fucking wall.
Just snap it in half.
Yes. Test your might.
Does Dark Souls 2 live up to the Dark Souls 1 hype where it was that kind of game too, where you die all the time?
Well, you do die all the time, yeah, but I don't know. I haven't played enough of it to give my own opinion, yeah, but I have watched a lot of content on it because I had no intention of ever making a critique of it because
You're channeling your fans right now, but keep going, please.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't be fucking arsed with it, but I decided to watch a bunch of critiques on it, and it was interesting because a lot of them, at least the ones that weren't just fanboying out over the fact that it exists, were saying, you know what, compared to Demon Souls and the original Dark Souls, here are the things that this game doesn't do as well. It recycles bosses a lot. It uses a lot of the same boss mechanics over and over again. Like that game is a lot of, here is a big guy with a big weapon in a small circular arena-like room, and you're going to fight him over and over and over and over again. And there are versions of Dark Souls bosses in that game that are just not as good. They're just not as enjoyable. And there are just a few things that the enemies do, which is a bit cheap. There are some cheap deaths that you can't actually see coming. There's one where this giant guy just kind of bursts through a door that you're opening and flattens you and kills you, which is bullshit.
And then you die, respawn, and come back and know that he's there, and then you don't die, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
which is kind of bullshit because the whole point of the Dark Souls and Demon Souls difficulty is that it's supposed to be fair. Like, as long as you are paying attention, you will see that coming. But you go up to a door and then something just flattens you and bursts through it, you can't see that coming. And there's a few other moments in that game, apparently. But Matthew Matosis did an absolutely excellent critique on it that pointed out a lot of things. But it's, of course, laden with spoilers. So you've got to watch out for that kind of stuff.
I've been playing that game a lot, actually. It's been super fun for me. But I never played Dark Souls 1. I only played Demon Souls. And Demon Souls was lacking in terms of motivation for me. I had no reason to play it, I guess, in terms of story. And so Dark Souls 2 has really filled that void for me. I've felt like there's so much more lore and interest involved in Dark Souls 2. But if Dark Souls 1 is better than Dark Souls 2, then I kind of want to play.
I think
Dark
over
Souls
the course
1,
of the series, the kind of method of storytelling is they don't force the story into your face outside of the bare essentials, and they just let you learn things through either world
you find lore.
Yeah,
which is
and
cool.
a lot of it's speculative. There's not necessarily a right answer to a lot of it. You have to put an interpretation in there, and apparently Dark Souls 2 is like very vague in many places. But the lore for
I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The lore for Dark Souls, I watched all the lore videos from Epic Name Bro and a channel called Vati Vidya as well.
Yeah, Vati.
He is really, really good at what he does. He does a series called Prepare to Cry, where he goes through and he tells the sad story of characters within that world. And it may not be 100% accurate, but I mean, it doesn't fucking matter because a lot of that lore is open to interpretation. And, you know, it's a valid criticism of Demon Souls that, it didn't do as good a job. And I think, like, the fact that it didn't have a cohesive world didn't help. Like, it had levels that you teleported to from a central Nexus hub, which is nowhere near as strong as wandering around in, just from the basic starting area where the Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls, and then it's like, right, well, I'm going to go down, I'm going to discover the Sunken City, I'm going to look at the areas down there in Blighttown, or am I going to head on up and start to go through Analondo and places like that? There's a cohesiveness to that world that isn't there really with Demon Souls.
I actually just almost getting like in a broad stroke kind of way, I appreciate that a game came out, did well, is hyped, that is really fucking difficult, by the way. Not to get too broad again, but gaming in general, like a lot of the games that are coming out are getting easier and easier and more, I feel, generic on a whole for a lot of people, because that's what I guess the most consumers would want. But I appreciate that in this day and age, people spent time to make a game that is the whole gimmick is it's actually so hard. Good luck.
Sorry, Dodger, go ahead.
I will say that one thing that makes me feel like a damn failure in that game is that they made it so that if you kill an enemy 15 times, it stops respawning.
Okay.
So, like, if you've had trouble with one area 15 times, you'll, like, leave your little fire and be like,
it gives you the "you tried" trophy. Like
exactly. Yeah, you're walking through and you're like, oh, I guess there's no one to kill. Okay. And then you're like, God, the game got so disappointed with me that it just
stopped bothering.
Got rid of those guys. Yeah. It's like,
it's got a fail
don't do that to me.
Built into it.
I'm not playing this game so that my hand will be held. Give me those bosses. I want to kill them. You know, it drove me nuts.
In their defense, though, 15 is a pretty damn good number for that. That's like, that's pretty far up there. Like,
it's like, look, if you haven't got it by the 15th time, you're not fucking getting it at all. Let's just move on to the next question here. You know,
there's a chance. I mean,
it's like a frustrated tutor.
If they had it as optional that you could pick the number, you're like, I think 25's fair.
Yeah.
Like
let me try this area 30 times. And if I can't do it 30, you know what? Then just let me walk through. That would be great.
Oh, wow.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that choose just one. They're like, I don't like dying. I just want to walk through the game.
There's quite a few games that give you that option now. I remember there was the controversy a long time ago that was really unfortunate, where one of the BioWare writers, I believe, got basically bullied off the internet because she made a remark that there should be an option to kind of skip gameplay and focus on story. And I didn't disagree with that at all. I think that that's totally valid, and there's actually a number of games that are doing that now. There's a game I was playing, the new Tex Murphy game, which was a series of, like, games that used full motion video back in the 90s. Cheesy as shit, like really bad green screen stuff. But at the time, it was revolutionary. Tex Murphy Under a Killing Moon cost $2 million to make in 1994 and was in development for 4 years. So that's a huge thing. And, you know, I'd say they had real actors, but I don't know if I'd classify them as that. But
Wing Commander back in the day, too.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that had real actors. You had Mark Hamill in there.
Mark Hamill, man.
Yeah, you had games like Night Trap and all sorts of crazy stuff that involved FMV. And this game has come out in 2014 thanks to a crowdfunding effort, and it's a really good blast from the past to see all that FMV stuff. But that game has an easy mode, where it basically just confesses to you, look, I understand that maybe you just want to watch the scenes and get the experience of the story. So you turn your flashlight on, we're going to highlight everything that's important for you to pick up, and we're going to allow you to skip pretty much every puzzle in the game. And we're also going to give you in-game hints and guides, because we know you're going to just go out and look for guides anyway, so we might as well put it in the game, and we'll dock you points for doing it. And I'm okay with that being there. I really am.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely all right with that.
You know why it's okay? It's because it's an option.
Yeah, exactly.
So
you don't have
if
to.
anyone on the planet Earth, and this is just beyond gaming, if you're upset at the idea or option of a game, and you get so mad that you bully someone, you know, whatever, if it just bothers you, I don't get that. Options are amazing, and you have to accept that not everyone's like you and doesn't like the same thing. Like, for me, that sounds really stupid. I wouldn't touch that in a million years, but I wouldn't give it... I don't care that it's an option. Like, who the hell?
You wouldn't judge somebody else for choosing it. Yeah.
No.
And frankly, it's a smart marketing decision, because there are people that just want to see the story of the game and don't want to be bothered with playing it. Why do you think Let's Play is so popular? Give an in-game fucking method to do that. Because actually, if people are willing to watch your game and enjoy it, and they can enjoy it without playing it, that's actually a big compliment to your writers, that they've actually managed to make a story that's worth watching.
It's interesting.
Exactly.
Go ahead, sorry.
Whoa! We just lost Dodger. Okay.
Oh, wow. I interrupted her off the internet.
Fuck, man. What the hell's wrong with you? Well, we'll take a quick break while she's coming back on, because we're actually on break time anyway, so let's do that while we get Dodger back. Hopefully the power hasn't gone out again. You're watching the Corruptional Podcast. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-optional Podcast. Dodger came back. Not sure what the hell happened there.
I don't know either.
I have no idea. Not a bloody clue. But we can get back onto the topics that we're on. We're actually still talking about Dark Souls, and there's one thing that worries me about the success of Dark Souls. One thing. Well, maybe two things. The first thing is that I'm kind of knocked off that the reason that people really seem to like Dark Souls, and what everyone actually says about Dark Souls all the time, which has become almost the meaning of itself, is like, oh, it's really, really hard. Okay, cool, but like, is that the defining characteristic of the game, or is there actually something else that's worth exploring within it that perhaps matters more. That's like a better characteristic of it. Yeah, okay, hard. Lots of games are hard. But there are very few games
what makes it good hard rather than bad hard.
Yeah, not only that, but also what about its world design? And the idea of this is actually a world with bare minimum story, but has a lot of lore and allows for a lot of speculation and sort of drawing it to your own conclusions. Also, people that go, "It's not hard, lol," I'm just gonna ban you from the channel. I don't care if you pay me $5, because that is a more even fucking annoying catchphrase than "it's hard." People say, "No, it's not hard." Yes, it fucking well is.
I know.
Older games are harder. Older games were unfair, you idiots. That's the point. Like, go play an old game. Yeah, go play something that was in the arcades. You'll see why it's hard, because it was designed to steal your fucking quarters. Dark Souls is not. Dark Souls is designed to allow you to progress at a slow, but regular and fair pace. It's the fairness that makes the difficulty.
The same person, John. You have I have the same anger. Just expressed it.
Yep.
That's my favorite. Is when people are like, "No, wasn't that hard? Beat it."
Wasn't that hard? Yeah. It's like, no, it is. It really is. You're not impressing anybody. It's definitely difficult. But it's a different kind of difficulty to unfair, blind jump, pump it full of more quarters bullshit. Which is what a lot of the old games were very, very difficult. Because those games were also an hour long. Like, you realize that. That's the only reason why they were so difficult. Because there was barely any content there. They wanted to make sure that you were going to spend a lot of time playing it and that you got your money's worth. Or more accurately, they got their money's worth. You know?
Some of the best times of my life, man. I liked arcade games. You had to know the game, but... The game being that you're just pumping quarters into it. But on to what you're saying about worried that that might be kind of the defining characteristic which steals away from the rest of the things. I think why I'm okay with that is that there's a lot of really well-designed games that have great worlds, great fighting systems, great graphics. They run very well. Well, maybe not a lot, but enough that that's not necessarily super uncommon. But what steals the show for that game is the fact that there are not many games that are super difficult. There's like degrees. I remember when XCOM was being played a lot. That was one of the things people talked about a lot too. And the purists would be like, no, the original XCOM was way harder than this, and that was part of the reason why they didn't enjoy the game very much. And that was certainly true.
Which is only half true, honestly, because the original XCOMs were very exploitable. There were strategies in that game which just flat out broke the game. And honestly, the cool thing that the modern XCOM does is that it gets rid of that. It's still it's consistently hard almost all the time, and it scales really well, even if you have the best weaponry. And obviously, it gets a little bit easier in places because you can never have even difficulty all the time, but it manages to maintain that. Whereas with games, the XCOM, Terror from the Deep, and with the original Enemy Unknown, there were just strategies that completely fucking broke the game. Not to mention the bullshit that you had to do in that game that made no fucking sense. Oh yeah, you've got 20 guys, you've got 20 soldiers, and you have people that are solely there just to bait out rockets. Like, there's no character development there. They're fucking meat shields. Oh god, that's just bad design. I'm sorry, I love those games to death.
Yeah, you be careful. No, you're right.
Oh yeah, some of those old games that I love to death and are classics still had some pretty poor design decisions in them. And Dark Souls, I think, doesn't have that many. Well, Dark Souls 1, not 2, but...
As you said that, someone began construction of their voodoo doll of you. You will be feeling it.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah,
I feel like, for me, being somebody who typically, if a game is difficult in a way where I'm like, I'm just not meant to be good at this game. Like, most of the time I'll give it a good shot, and then I'll be like, I don't have the brain for this, right? Whereas with Dark Souls, I feel like there's a sense of success.
Yes.
You learn. So you go into a situation, you interact with a creature or a monster or even just a standard humanoid, and they're all designed really well in terms of aesthetic, and you never know what their attack pattern is going to be like. Typically, it's like a series of 3, but sometimes it's totally different. And I really like that. I like that you interact with something and maybe it kills you, but then you can say, okay, how can I learn from that and then progress? And even though that might seem like it's not worth the time in just saying that, I really, really enjoy that. I enjoy learning how I move and how the mechanics work for me and how that affects, being smart about interacting with the other monsters and learning not to be greedy. That's like my big thing. Is like,
yeah,
even if you just get one hit, that's fine. Just get out of there, because he's got that big swingy move, and then you're gonna be dead, and then it's not worth it. And I really appreciate that in the game, I think.
I vastly prefer games like that versus the games that, I mean, and this is, some people really like this. A lot of people do, actually. I actually hate the like super complex puzzles that it's not a matter of like you learn it and move on. It's more just you're in this puzzle now. And if you figure it out, great. But if you don't, you'll be here for 10 hours.
Yeah.
I'm that 10 hours guy. I hate fucking puzzles. So I'm just like, so I usually phone a friend or Google it because I can't do it. Yeah. But you can't Google Dark Souls. I mean, you could, obviously. It'll be like, yeah.
But you've still got to execute, one way or the other. I remember with the first Dark Souls, there being a very early thing you can do and a very early item that you can get, which involves going to an area that you're clearly kind of not ready for, but you can run past a lot of the ghosts to get the item. It's been a while since I played that, and grab it. And there was a little guide on the internet about how to do it. And you can, as long as you can execute that, you're fine, but you certainly never learned anything from that. You learn from the combat experience. Getting a guide won't win you the game, which is often the case in other titles, especially like with puzzles, because puzzles are obviously going to have one solution most of the time, with some exceptions, like, say games like Portal, where you can do multiple things. I think that Dark Souls is a game where it genuinely feels like you've actually achieved something. And every little step that you take is an achievement. And I also like the feeling of you are nowhere near the most badass person in the world. In fact, you can be murdered by a grunt very easily.
Yeah.
No problem at all. You are there to survive, and gradually you will kind of take your place as one of the more powerful beings in that universe. But that game is there to slap you down when you get too cocky every single possible time that you could. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So that I can continue to contribute to you guys' Master Gamers race, a game that is reminiscent of this discussion for reasons that I probably will never be able to connect. But I really liked Darksiders 2 in particular. Did you guys play that?
Yes.
And that's one of the biggest games of this category that is tragedy for me. And with THQ closing up, and I don't know if anyone bought the rights to Darksiders, but
they did.
I thought the second one, okay, good.
Nordic Games did.
Well, hopefully they can do it justice, because that was what a hidden gem of a game that was. It was so great through and through. And it's the addition to a first one, which was pretty okay, but not like mind-blowingly good. And then randomly the second one was like 10 times better, gorgeous, great gameplay, great puzzles, great fighting. It was amazing. And it just reminds me of Darksiders in the sense you brought up, what if the fact that it's hard steals away from the other things that make it good? So that's my connection, which is so super loose, and I do apologize. But Darksiders, I thought, was an all-encompassing great game that it's good to hear from you guys. It's not robbed from us, but I was sad when I heard that they closed their doors, because that game it didn't even sell millions of copies
at all. It didn't.
But it's great.
They sold a lot of it off as part of like a big bundle at the end, where they're just like, pay you $1 for this shit. It was like a fire sale, which was just so sad to see something that had so much work put into it be treated in such a way.
Yeah, Nordic, either today or yesterday, actually, Nordic was like, don't worry, we're going to do something with Darksiders.
Yeah.
Eventually.
See, I knew that. That's what I was on. That's my news item.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Darksiders is not dead. The creative director is dropping hints for Darksiders 3. That's what's currently going on with it, which is good, because Darksiders 2 definitely seemed like a step in the right direction. Like, it really... Darksiders 1 felt like the Dark Zelda that a lot of people have been asking for. I mean, and it took things wholesale from Zelda. There's no doubt about that. Darksiders 2 seemed like it had almost like it was finding its identity on its own. It hadn't quite got there yet, because it can't figure out whether it wants to be fucking Zelda or God of War. And it tried to kind of be both, and wasn't incredible at either, but was good at both. And the problem is then you split the audience up into people like me who fucking hates the environmental puzzles that a game like that will have. So really enjoyed the combat and the exploration aspects and the fighting of Darksiders, but really disliked the environmental puzzles. And then the people who are the opposite of that want... I was about to say who want the water temple experience. I'm pretty sure there's no one in at all that wants the water temple experience. I mean, forget waterboarding. That's basically what they do to suspected Al-Qaeda operatives. They force them to play water temple time and time again. It's just a horrible thing. But they wanted that kind of the Zelda level environmental puzzles, and it was never quite there because that game was sort of it was trying to stay on the tightrope between the two and never really had a full identity of its own. So hopefully we'll see better. We'll definitely see better.
They should make at least 4 of those damn games.
Well, of course.
There's 4 horsemen. So
yeah.
If they don't make 4, there's some strange fanboys out there. They're like, come on. What about playing? Come on.
You can play Famine and you can slap people around with a giant
Famine
sausage.
will be great. It's a fucking, they make it a Facebook app game that's like the anti-Farmville or something like that. All you do is go around sucking nutrients from people. Like, and your farm is having a famine, and those cows can't eat, and now these people are dying.
They turn it into a management game. Like,
A+.
Such and such is inviting you to Darksiders 3. Famine. Like, this sounds fun.
They've
And
gifted you a cow. Never mind, it starved and died. That's sad.
It takes place in
that.
Southern California, and there's not much going on. It's just all you try to do is suck the life from other people in the game.
Or maybe that's where the whole what was I gonna say? Fuck. Well, I'm thinking like, what if you were the farmer, and famine keeps showing up and being like, ha, and you're like, no, and you have to like run over and plant more corn. You're like, oh, come on, get out of here.
See, what's actually happened is that the license has been bought out by Clay, and they're going to turn it into Don't Starve 2.
Ah.
It'll be brilliant.
Don't starve.
Yep.
You play as Famine, who, ironically enough, is trying not to starve in a twist of events. It's like undercover bosses, It's like they learn what it's like to be on the bottom rung.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be perfect.
Oh, that's right. It's one of your guys' subscribers corrected me. It's Fury, War, Death, and Strife. That's right.
Yes, they did. Well, they didn't put Pestilence and Famine in because it's hard to make games about them. So they changed them to things that are easier to make games about.
What are you talking about? We just came up with a great game.
And that's why we don't get to make games anymore.
That would have been amazing. War and Death is like the obvious badass ones. It's going to be funny to see how they do. Like, Fury is going to be the closest they'll get to, like, God of War in my mind. It's just like, you have a rage meter and you become super powerful angry.
Yeah.
Then Strife is just like really upset about everything for the most part. That's the emo version. That's the Spider-Man 3 of the franchise right there.
Seems to me there's peace here. Let's make things complicated for everyone. Oh, that was
so good.
It's just the level where you have to just mess up someone's relationship so that their inevitable marriage is slightly delayed because they have to work through more issues in their life. It's a really difficult one.
Video Game Awards back when Spike TV was involved in gaming. This is like 2007, I guess.
Yeah, I was hoping that never happens again.
Yeah. Well,
actually, to be fair, the last thing they fucking did was terrible as well. So, gaming and television, that usually works out well. What a brilliant combination made in fucking hell.
But I was in the green room and I met Stan Lee and had a long conversation with him. He's actually, to this day, one of the most humble and, like, considering what he's done and how he's known, he's one of the coolest people I've ever met. But I was drunk at the time, so I was able to do this. But within like 2 minutes of meeting and talking to him, I was like, Spider-Man 3? I was like, what happened there? And he goes, look, that was one of the ones that I didn't consult on the most, and I'm sorry for how bad it was. And I was like, did you just apologize to me for Spider-Man 3? And he goes, yep. I'm sorry.
Oh.
That's kind of adorable and respectable at the same time.
Fucking awesome. Yeah. He asked me, he said, honest opinion, did you think when you were walking over that I was Hugh Hefner? Because he actually, at the time in particular, looks a lot like Hugh Hefner. And I was like, no, I knew who you were, man. Cool story.
Yeah, take that, Hugh.
It's like saying, maybe you don't understand the crowd that come to these events. And then simultaneously you realize, actually, the crowd that goes to those events these days is a bunch of random Hollywood people for no fucking reason.
I noticed you weren't wearing 4 blonde women, so I knew that you weren't Hugh Hefner.
Indeed. I heard that's in this season. Women. And every other season, turns out.
Yeah.
Oh, my. Dodger, what you been playing? Please tell me it's not some weird pixely shit.
I don't think I have any weird pixely shit to talk about.
Excellent. Well, that's actually sort of also disappointing, because it's a weird world that even I don't delve into, the stuff that you find for your channel.
That's what Dodger does, man.
I was gone last week because I was doing my civic duty. And,
yes, indeed.
Yeah, and I never got to talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Stars.
Ah, okay.
Definitely played that game. That game is gorgeous. It's a beautiful fighting game. I can't really speak to whether or not it's a complex fighting game because like it allows you to do your big moves very easily, which was confusing to me. And I was like, I wonder if there are bigger moves that are harder to do. It seems like the combo system isn't quite as complex as like say Street Fighter. But man, that game is also really imbalanced because like there's some characters, it spans so many seasons of JoJo's and so many generations that like there are characters on horses, so you're literally on your horse in the fight and you can like send your horse away or get knocked off your horse. And then there's like the third generation JoJo's where everybody has their stand or like their personification of their fighting spirit that fights for them. And so that's like a whole different system. And then there's the original people from the original JoJo's that are just like, I'm going to fight you. What's my chi? You're just like, okay.
What's my chi?
So when you have like some people from 3 fighting people from 1, you're just like, this is a little weird. The fighting system's very different for these 2 characters, but looks so good. It's so it's so beautifully JoJo's. For anybody who's watched or read JoJo's, it's just so over the top flamboyant in a way that no other game could possibly be. Like it's incredible. So had a lot of fun playing that, but I would say if there's no, I don't think there's any way that it could ever be competitive.
I was going to say,
guess.
1, when's it coming to Evo? And secondly, when is EG going to poach a player for it?
Hey,
Beautiful.
we only poach the ones that win Evo, so technically,
so you got to win at
series
JoJo's.
Of questions, yeah.
Win at
looks
JoJo's. Cool. Yeah, it's great.
I have no idea what's going on with the story. Like, I've been playing part 1 of the 8-minute story trailer. Yeah, the first part is 8 minutes long of the story trailer. I have no fucking clue what's happening. I played the original game on the Dreamcast having no knowledge of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in any way, and it was just a weird fighting game that I happened to get at the time, and I played it, and it was kind of cool, and I left it at that. And now I discover all this other crazy shit. There's someone called Lisa Lisa. What the fuck? Why are you calling Lisa Lisa? That's completely redundant.
She's awesome. It's a strange, bizarre universe, if you will, where the mangaka just like started off with kind of like a normal-ish story, and it slowly is less and less grounded in reality and gets weirder and weirder and weirder. And you're like, okay, all right. Eventually you just accept it. You're like, all right. Mm-hmm.
That's how you do a fighting game, though.
That is a character I did not want to see.
Serious story in a fighting game is so... I don't know. Actually, name a game that has a serious story. Like Mortal Kombat.
Fighting game? Yeah.
Ridiculous. A realm where we're fighting for the, all the different realms.
And the most absurd thing about Mortal Kombat is that while the story's ridiculous, it's the most cohesive fighting game story that exists. Like, it actually makes a certain degree of sense. Whereas, like, Street Fighter 4's is just daft. Like...
Yeah. Oh man, I've been playing more Street Fighter 2 because Ultra's coming out. So
you've been playing Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter 2?
Oh, Street Fighter, Super Street Fighter 4.
Okay.
Is what I've been playing.
I was like, you're playing Street Fighter 2.
I've been playing Street Fighter also.
Yeah.
And man, I'm bad at that game all over again. So I'm trying to get not bad at that.
You're not alone
because I just know
that's not a button masher game. You have to be good at that.
No,
I used to be okay. I don't know I can't remember what ranking I was. I think I got to something like A- or something with Dan. But I was playing on PC where everyone's terrible, so that helps. I was pretty sure I was like D- on console. But I want to play that game again. I'm waiting for Arcade to come out so I can get back into it. Because that's my favorite fighting game ever. Like, I played that, I wouldn't say seriously, but I actually put an effort into learning shit, which I never ever do in any other fighting game. And I had a huge amount of fun as a result of that.
Have you still been playing Killer Instinct at all?
On and off. I'll play a few rounds here and there. I haven't played it since they put Fulgor in. So I'm kind of now. Yeah, I'm waiting. I don't know. I'll go back to it. I dip into it every now and again. It's a great fighting game. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. It's sad.
Easily the best thing that's on the Xbox.
That was my game. To be the nostalgia guy for a second. Like, we played GoldenEye, we played Mario Kart, and we played Killer Instinct. That was what we did after school all damn day long with the same group of friends. Killer Instinct specifically for the SNES, by the way, which is actually better than the Nintendo 64 version. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. and it was amazing. But back then, when fighting games were still pretty popular, like Tekken was being played on the PS2, and of course Street Fighter was being played on the SNES big time. It was a hugely popular game. If you pulled off an ultra combo or did any kind of combo in general, you weren't just like button mashing or hitting a button because your meter went high enough. Like it was an actual 26 key thing that you memorized that then executed. That was amazing.
There was a show in the UK called Games Master. And they had it was actually a televised show. It was terrible, but it actually had some very, very, very strange things going on. And it had these televised challenges, and one of them was to pull off the ultimate combo in Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
I can't remember which character it was with. I think it may have been with Orchid. I can't remember, but they had to execute everything, and it ended with 3 projectiles, because this is like the maximum combo you could possibly achieve, at least according to them. It probably wasn't. But them doing all the inputs that you had to put in to make that happen, to actually execute that properly, were just insane. Absolutely,
it was amazing.
Ridiculous.
And you felt amazing when you pulled it off. And it's the kind of that thing that Dodger's talking about, where it's like, when you did that, you felt good. You just felt good because you just did something really hard and awesome. But you could do it in every single match too, by the way. Like it was more just like you're in the middle of it, and the other guy who's getting juggled right now and getting this ultra combo done to him, they're kind of like, you better fucking drop this. Like, are you pulling this off right now? But long story short, the new Tekken, I felt like, or not Tekken, excuse me, Killer Instinct, it did an amazing job in graphically, like the voice for it's amazing. It's got that brutal, fast, like boom, it's got its spirit really good.
Serious amount of impact in it. Plus the fucking music is spot on brilliant.
Music's great, but they dropped the handle with combos. Like there is juggling, and it is a difficult fighting game to play, but it's not the old one. So that's one of the ones where like I can't detach the memories that I have and enjoy this one. So I don't actually play it and enjoy it as much.
I'm very glad then that I was not connected to Killer Instinct in that way prior to playing that one. I was aware of it, and I liked some of the character design of it, and obviously like the opening soundtrack to Killer Instinct is a fucking classic, but
yes,
I still think that Killer Instinct is the best game that's currently on Xbox One, which is hilarious because it came from the studio that brought you fucking Battleship and G.I. Joe Rise of the Cobra, Oh god.
The game, like the launches of the system, there's legendary stories of people like lining up a week before, and like I was one of those guys that was like using back channels to talk to friends that had connections. I almost bought one from a guy at Twitch that apparently they just got them as gifts. Like I was desperate to get a new system. And I heard you guys talking about this, but now that I have it, it's just kind of sitting over there.
It's just there. Yeah.
Being played a whole lot because the games that came out with them, not amazing. The Rome game, absolute shit. Killzone, played it for a couple hours. Gorgeous game, fun game, but not enough to keep me completely involved.
Yeah, I barely touched my next-gen machines. Like, I've played more Peggle 2 on my Xbox One than I've played anything else other than Killer Instinct. So that's just sad. And for things like Titanfall, like, well, I'll just play it on PC because it's going to be better. And
it is.
So
objectively, is.
Objectively, it's not even a question. And for PlayStation 4, I was gonna pick up Murdered Soul Suspect, and then I realized, they're bringing that to PC. Brilliant! I'll play it on PC then. So I was like, well, when's your exclusive coming out that I actually give a shit about? Or when are you gonna have a timed exclusive that tempts me enough to force me to play it on your system before I play it on PC?
Phantom Pains will be exclusive PS4, right? Or Phantom Pain?
I can't remember, because there was a huge amount of speculation regarding that, wasn't there? I thought it was multi-platform now.
That made me sad. Yeah,
it's multi-platform. It's on all the previous gen and next gen systems: PS4, PS3, Xbox 360, Xbox One. No PC, of course.
When that happened, that made me so sad. When Metal Gear finally like broke into not just being PS exclusive. Like I've always owned both systems, but it was kind of one of those things where it was like, I almost root for PS as like the underdog. I mean, they've done a great job with the PS4 as a machine goes, but like they've always been the like too serious try hard machine, that like needed a little bit of help in the 360 era in particular. 360 was like the hip new Mountain Dew of games. It was like everyone's got a 360. We all play online. It's great. Metal Gear Solid was like the best way to be like, PlayStation still got it, guys. But then it went everywhere.
Well, there was a year of PlayStation 3 has no games. Like, and for about a year you were right about that. It's getting weird because even a lot of these exclusives are less tempting, and a lot of the games are just becoming multi-format anyway, and in which case, like, there's less and less reason for me to own a console. In the PS3 and Xbox 360 era, there were still reasons for me to own that, because there were still really good exclusives that weren't available on PC, and it seems like, and this is good for PC gamers, of course, that there are less and less of those coming now, and that you will get multi-format and it will come on, and you won't have to play Red Dead Redemption on your PlayStation 3 instead of, playing it on your PC or whatever, the next game that, I don't know, Rockstar's a weird standout in that respect, but the next game of that size will probably also be on PC too, with the exception of fucking Destiny, because apparently first-person shooter multiplayer with loot, PC users would never go for something like that.
They didn't say that, did they?
No, because they have better PR than I do, but that... I don't know what it is that they're just Bungie are just.
It's a tough situation though, because a lot of times the PC games are released later than the console games. So there's that huge part of gamers where they're like, "Oh, I need to be a part of this now. I want to play this now." But to not make that as clear cut, a lot of times the game is better on the PC. So it's a question of like, can you be patient and avoid the hype train, in which case you'll be rewarded with a better designed, better playable game? Or do you want this game now so you can play it now, not be spoilered, and you want to appease yourself, but play a lesser version of the game that you could later? There's no perfect option. Very rarely is it released on PC at the same time as the consoles. It's kind of a bitch.
I mean, if you were to be kind of a conspiracy theorist, you would almost say that they do that on purpose and that the console devs do want it before the PC version, but I think there's other reasons for that. It's the things like reducing piracy. The later you bring it out, the more people will just give in and buy it instead of just waiting to pirate it, because gamers are notorious when it comes to being impatient and pre-ordering shit that they don't know anything about. And we have an entire media industry that is feeding into this idea. There was I've been watching a bunch of stuff about Sunset Overdrive. What I've noticed about almost every piece of video footage that's come out about that game that hasn't come from the actual developers themselves is it might as well have come from the developers themselves, because it sounds like a fucking commercial.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. I mean, what are you guys game reviewers? I mean, is that how what are you doing here? What's going on? Do games
generally sell better on consoles, or do they sell, like, I'd be interested in those numbers, or do they sell better on PC, or is it, generally speaking, I know...
they always sell better on consoles, although we haven't got the figures now of the next-gen machines, because, PS3 and Xbox 360 still sell better, but now we're in this weird transition where there's that next-gen thing going on.
And how will that affect it? Yeah,
because obviously there's the adoption rate is slower. There's still a lot of PlayStation 4s out there. There's over 7 million sold. There's over 5 million Xbox One sold, which for the first 6 months is pretty good. But PCs don't kind of go away. It's like, oh, there's a new generation. Is there? Really? I never noticed because I use a PC. We're always the next generation.
Might have lost our stream, by the way.
Did we lose it again?
It died.
Again?
It went down twice, but came back, and now this last time it's... to let you know, though,
Twitch is all
the
over the place
WCS stream went down as well. So it's definitely
Twitch is all over the place. Yeah, I mean, I've got no drop frames on this end. So
is it bad that when Twitch is struggling, I wonder what is League of Legends doing right now?
What have they done?
What are they doing on stream right now?
I wonder what's going to happen with the International. In particular, the International seems to hit really, really hard. I mean, remember day one last year of TI3, it was like over 500,000 concurrents, I think, on the English stream alone. It's like Twitch was just crapping itself. It's going to be even worse this time around. I mean, there's a lot more hype behind TI4, I think. Larger venue, things like that.
The prize pool. They're closing in on $5 million.
The prize pool is ludicrous. And I mean, people get invested in it in a big way because they bought the compendium to drive that up. So it's a genius idea, really.
It is truly
Blizzard.
Genius.
It's a genius idea, Blizzard. It's something that you might want to borrow, Blizzard, because you get seriously invested. Once you've bought that thing, you get invested in watching everything related to it, because you've got your fucking fantasy team, and you're collecting your stickers, and you're getting rewards, you're leveling up your compendium, you're getting rewards for watching games. Fuck. I mean, Valve is the absolute smartest when it comes to leveraging technology to increase viewership of esports.
Well, it's their form of replicating that same feeling from crowdfunding. Or like you get something and you're also completely invested in the final product.
Okay,
That's
now
smart.
the stream does say it's offline.
Yeah.
Boo.
The stream's Twitch is dead. I can't reconnect to Twitch right now. So, look, sorry, no, we might be back on. Okay, so it should be coming up again momentarily. We'll just continue the show because, of course, the guys on YouTube don't give a shit about how broken Twitch is right now. So we'll certainly keep on going for them. But
why do they keep talking about this?
yeah, it's like, I don't, my stream's fine. I don't there's a problem with that. But the cool thing about that compendium, as we said, is just they leverage viewership in really innovative ways that nobody, and that includes Riot, can really deal with. Riot has the bigger audience by far, and they put on a really good show and a really great production. But when it comes to pure creativity and just leveraging technological advantages and coming up with cool ideas, Valve stomps everybody into the floor without question. And
kind of silently, by the way, like Riot has a face to it, because LCS is so. This is Riot. Like, I associate the two as the same, and essentially they are. So I can put a face to Riot.
Well, they also say this is
kind
the
of out
scene
there.
as well, because you notice, like, a lot of these third-party League of Legends tournaments, outside of the really big ones, the viewership sucks. Like, not LCS, sorry, Lone Star Clash, great example. The LoL tournament for Lone Star Clash got less viewers than the StarCraft tournament. And the StarCraft tournament was getting, like, 25k concurrent, which is not brilliant numbers, but not bad either. And the League tournament's getting less than that. You're like, whoa, what the fuck? But then when LCS goes on, it's suddenly, like, 300,000 concurrent viewers. And because that scene is so dominated by that, it seems like it's to the detriment of almost everything else. Whereas Dota's the opposite. Dota doesn't. The only central tournament that Dota really has is the International, and that's a once a year thing. They don't have a WCS or an LCS. And as a result, other tournaments are coming to pick up the slack. So you've got things like Star Ladder that get like over 100,000 viewers for an online event, and all sorts of other Dota tournaments that are going on.
Well, it's an interesting comparison. I liked when you guys talked about this, I think, last week. But I think another big aspect for why that is the case is because everything League is and revolves around LCS. All things of import. Like they get salaries, they're put up in houses, they become stars, and that's a really cool system. But what that ends up doing is that anything that's outside of LCS has no incentive at all. It's whatever that prize pool is, but that prize pool is so dwarfed by everything LCS that unless you're going to do the really... And there's actually no unless to this, because what I was about to say is, unless you're going to try to do the really strange thing where you try to like match the number of LCS, what then LCS just does, and what they would do at Riot, is they'd say, you won't have our pro players. You will now have... You can have amateurs that we don't have control over, but actually maybe not even that. If you're trying to compete with us, we'll just decide to shut down the game because we control everything about it.
Yeah.
Whereas what Valve does with Dota is every tournament has its own like online qualifier to an offline, so that has its own kind of complete story. The international still does dwarf everything, but they don't try to market it as like, this is the only thing that matters. It ends up being the most important thing by no stretch of imagination, but it's a big deal if you win Star Ladder. It's a big deal if you win the Dream League. Like, that still actually really, really matters. And I think that's the more sustainable, better model that also, by the way, Valve ends up spending a lot less on because the scene organically sustains it.
Well, they don't have to pay for the fucking prize money. Everyone just throws it at them.
No, man.
Like,
take all of it.
So smart.
Yeah.
Speaking of MOBAs, do you want to talk about Dawngate?
Yeah, let's talk about Dawngate. Like, that's a game that we've both been playing. And Jeff, I mentioned when I popped on Inside the Game, because they were lacking hosts. So I was like, hey, you want me to come on for a little while? So we talked a little bit about this game, Dawngate, which is as we actually spoke to them because we're trying to find out what the fuck, where did this company come from? Waystone Games, because we've never heard them before. Apparently, it's a bunch of the Darkspore developers, not Dark Souls, that would be weird. Darkspore developers. Darkspore was a game I actually liked a lot, but ended up critically failing, and then there were issues with EA and their fucking DRM being terrible and shit like that. And they go on to make Dawngate, which is a Dota-style game. It's more similar to League of Legends than it is to Dota. And it's got a bunch of really interesting ideas, and a few of us, kind of Polaris, have been getting into it, because we hang around in groups where we complain about Polaris, and that's the thing that binds us all together. So we have these kind of support groups on Skype, and we like to complain about everything. And sometimes we'll say, oh, we're playing this game right now. And a couple of days ago, I was hyping... In? Yeah. And a couple of days ago, I was hyping up Fistful of Frags, which I'll talk about at some point today as well. But I was hyping up Dawngate and saying, guys, this is actually pretty fucking good. And then Strippin went and played it, then Crendo went and played it, and then you went and played it, Dodger. And we've got a couple of other Polaris guys in there as well. I think Angry Joe's considering playing it. And it's just a nice little fresh take. It feels familiar, but there's a breath of fresh air in it. It's got a nicely kind of cohesively designed world. The characters make sense. It doesn't feel like the characters are shoehorned in to fill a particular role and then they just built the lore around them. It's like they wanted to create a particular character with in-game lore, and then they figured out how to make it work within the game mechanics after the fact, which I think is a much better way of designing characters. There's a lot of story and good depth and nice understated design to a lot of the characters. They're not completely fucking ridiculous. Not every female character is just basically wearing a chainmail bikini. Riot. So they're pretty well designed, kind of just range of regular male, regular female characters of all sizes. You know, there are very effete kind of male characters, sort of very girlish male characters, but also kind of very butch female characters as well. There's one who I couldn't even tell was female because she's just wearing fucking giant armor made of trees with this huge fucking sword.
Yeah,
just mushrooms all over her.
Man, she was the first character that I tried to play. I was like, she looks dope. So I picked her, not my playstyle whatsoever, but she's awesome. So
that's actually how I pick all my characters too, by the way.
Does it look cool?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am not even afraid to, like, in all the games when I played Killer Instinct, I was like, this guy is an alien made of ice. I will play him. Oh, this guy's a robot that has a minigun inside of his arm and he has psi blades on his hands. I'm playing him now.
Fucking going for it. Yeah, I'll admit to doing that very, very frequently with fighting games and all sorts of different things like that. The game is just solid right now. It feels good. Most of my games have been very pleasant experiences, and as I've said, the role system that they put into that game, which is probably the biggest singular innovation that they've done with that game anyway, that allows you to select a different set of
tactician, gladiator, all of that stuff.
Yes, tactician, gladiator, hunter, and which other Dota-style games have you played, Dodger? I want to know what kind of context that you're playing this in.
I've played League of Legends. I've played Dota, and I tried Smite, and that's pretty much it. And I'm bad at all of them, but it's weird because, and I don't know if this just means that everybody who's tried to kind of teach me is just a bad teacher, Krender. But when we were all playing together, when we were playing Dawngate, I had this epiphany where suddenly I was like, oh my God, I understand what these games are about now. It suddenly clicked. And I don't know if it's because I had just finally played enough or if it was because I was with people who were explaining things better. But man, suddenly so much more fun because I'm not standing around going, I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now. Do I just stand right next to this thing? Do I
No, you idiot! You're supposed to farm in the jungle! And you're like, oh.
Yeah, gone, you dumb support, feeling like you can carry. What are you doing right now? It's like, stop it. I don't know what I'm doing. But I had a moment. I had a breakthrough.
I am to a lot of people. There was back on when we were doing WoW Radio, we used to play the original Dota with Warcraft 3. And it almost destroyed the organization. Because the amount of rage, sheer pure rage involved in that game. No, we were all absolute noobs in the biggest possible way. This was before any of us bothered to read some of Serlin's nice kind of blog posts about game theory and the difference between a professional gamer and an amateur kind of scrub, basically. His little document about scrubs is brilliant because it explains the idea that a scrub is someone that puts artificial limitations on themselves and then blames everybody else because they had some fucking magical Bushido kind of honor code. It's like, no, you're playing a fucking competitive game. Use the game mechanics to the fullest possible potential. And we used to play with the Bushido shit. It would say, oh, you're a ganker. You're a fucking ganker. I fucking hate you. It's like, that's the point of the fucking game. We never understood that. It was like, no, you're going to stay in lane and you're not going to fucking wander and ruin people's game by ganking. Yep. And it's like, wow, we were idiots.
Yeah, and that's the mindset that I've been in for so long of once you pick a lane, you don't leave that lane because you're letting the whole team down. That's how I've always felt.
Communicate that you are, because then there's an action with the team to team fight, or ganking actually becomes applicable. I had this experience with Han, and this is actually an amazing segue between two things you guys just mentioned. Look how we're doing this, okay?
It's almost like we do this on a daily basis.
Almost. I picked a character called Swiftblade because he looked fucking awesome. He's got like 2 swords. He's like this red ninja badass looking guy. I didn't know he was a carry or supposed to be a carry, and I don't even know what that was. StarCraft 2 went from beta to like a month of nothing to being launched, and that was the darkest month ever because you couldn't go back to Brood War because you're already used to StarCraft 2, and that, you know, Brood War was at the end of its days at that point in time, and you can't play StarCraft 2. So what did you do? People are playing MOBAs right now. Yeah, so we played Han, Heroes of New Earth, and I've always been a pretty damn good gamer, you know, pro gamer in Brood War and StarCraft 2. So like when I play games, you're like, oh, he's that StarCraft 2.
Oh, this is kind of neat. Swiftblade looks like, I think he was a clone of Juggernaut, actually. In Dota. Yeah. I'm just looking at the stats of him here.
So I'm playing this guy because I think he's a badass, and I'm playing and just doing my thing, and I'm like, oh look, I'm in the positive KDA, and I'm doing okay, and people are like, what the f is Swiftblade doing here? Why are you here right now? And I'm like, guys, I if there's something more I'm supposed to do, just tell me. Like I'm a StarCraft player. Like I don't give a shit about StarCraft. They're like, you idiot, and I just all day was defending myself from being an idiot, a bumbling fool. And then I eventually stopped playing.
Han has always had a bad community that way too, though.
Yeah,
I think Han is probably like the most
vicious,
aggressive, vicious community, that I've ever seen in a MOBA.
Do you think?
I feel like
it's got more concentrated toxicity than LoL.
Yeah,
like LoL's very spread out because it's got, if Riot is to believe, then everyone on the planet plays League of Legends. Like it has 7 billion players based on Riot statistics. Yeah, and that's a fact, and we can't argue.
Play
Yeah.
LoL. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they're moving into the animal market right now where they're trying to get cats to play, where it shouldn't be too difficult. They could just play Sona and just kind of roll their face on the keyboard. But with Heroes of New Earth in particular, it's kind of what StarCraft 2 is kind of going through right now, the bitterness of being on top and then losing that position to another game. And as a result, a lot of us try to justify it by saying, oh, well, League of Legends is only more popular because it's easier and no one's as hardcore as me and they're not willing to play this and we have the true game and you're just a bunch of fucking casuals.
Which is true, but yeah.
Of course. But with Heroes of New Earth, they were in an even worse spot because they were never actually on top. Like, they were battling with LoL from the very start and they pretty much like lost over the course of time and became increasingly bitter about it. And
John, have you seen the video of their finals that they just had?
The Han finals?
The basketball court and stuff, yeah.
No, I have not.
John, have you seen the movie? Have you seen the movie The Room?
No, I have not.
Yeah.
What the hell?
You have to see The Room.
You call yourself the cynical Brit and you haven't watched the epitome of bad across gaming and movies?
The Room is so bad.
I try to keep my sanity intact whenever possible.
Listen.
No, telling me about Lisa. You gotta watch it.
What the fuck is happening?
Dim down the lights, watch The Room, and try not to end up putting the bottle of wine through one of your ears and out the other. Also, cue up Han's finals in Las Vegas. It is, if you thought you saw a bad final production, John, you haven't seen a bad final production. You have smoke machines like piddling out smoke, kinda, but disorganized in a darkened basketball court in a high school.
Was this like a year ago? Like, it wasn't recent, right?
A year ago, but that's still
the Han Tour Grand Finals of Las Vegas, day 2. I'm kind of loading up a video right now to have a look at it.
And try not to kill yourself. Introducing Team Greenleaves, and they just like there's like a pause, and they like kind of come shuffling out.
Oh dear!
I can't believe you haven't seen The Room though. That's like
that surprises me too. I feel like TB would really just hate
Holy shit,
hate
the
every
frame
moment
rate
of
on
watching
these
that movie.
VODs. What the fuck? Yeah. Oh me, oh my.
Moving all my mugs.
Yeah. The UI is vomit worthy. Yeah. I'm not kind of big into Han. I think it's probably evened out now over time because a lot of people have just gone to League anyway. So I hear Han still actually has a solid community of its own, and it's still having competitive events, but is obviously struggling in many places.
But that's the reason why it's like their community is so intense, and that's why they have absolutely no patience for ineptitude. If you show up and you're like, I'm going to try to play Heroes of New Earth, everybody else you're going to play with has been playing for years. And they're going to rip you apart if you don't know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Like, that's That's been my experience anyway. And I haven't even tried to play Han in like 2-3 years. It was like it's too much, just too far.
Yeah, I haven't touched it in a long time. Last time I touched it was when they asked to put for me to voice act a skin, like a special skin for one of the characters, the Corrupted Disciple. I did the Steampunk Corrupted Disciple. That's me in the game, and I played it a little bit then, and that was it. Like
it's actually a great game. It's a fun MOBA game. It's really well designed. It's a middle ground between LoL and Dota, where it's got good-looking characters, cool graphics. The mechanics are fairly smooth. You can last hit and deny, I believe. It's great, but it's the lesser one. People are less involved. They're less committed, and I agree with everything you guys are saying. The community is probably the most densely toxic one that you could get into for a MOBA because of the exact reasons I feel like Dex just said. Like it's... Or Dodger.
Dex.
Why does it... Dex. That's your Twitter. I referred to you as your Twitter.
It is. That is my Twitter.
I don't think so bad.
I think it's kind of weird now because I think that instead of playing Han, you could just play Dota 2. And I think that's the biggest obstacle because back when Han came out, it was kind of given an unofficial blessing by the Dota guys to say, yeah, totally, you can make a Dota clone. And they literally cloned Dota. Like, they took all the items and they renamed them. They took all the heroes and they renamed them. And they used Savage 2 assets. They used kind of elements of their New Earth sort of world, which wasn't well fleshed out in terms of its lore anyway. And they kind of built from there. And eventually they diversified away from Dota, but the Dota 2 exists. And that's it's a pretty hard sell to say, yeah, you should totally play Han instead of Dota 2. I can't imagine why you would. There's probably a reason, but I don't know what that reason is. Because that game's still pretty popular in Asia, apparently. I know that for a fact. It's still actually got a good number of players.
From what I understand, they just had a fairly decent... I'm reaching back into my brain, which sometimes can just make up lies, but...
I would explain steam coming out of your ears.
Yeah, that would be it. Those are all the truths being burnt away. A year ago was that terrible finals, but I think they had another one that was actually pretty okay, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, they've got their little community. They've got people that really do enjoy that game.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But yeah, Dawngate, it's just it's a much better solo queue experience. And I think part of like your kind of renaissance on that genre, Dodger, is that role system when you're playing not a gladiator, a tactician. You don't feel pressured in the same way. It's like, I've got to keep up on last hits. Holy shit, better go here. And because there's also
helps so much.
Since there's no mana as well, you are left to help out the other guy and to harass the shit out of the people in the lane. You know, just beat the crap out of them. Yeah. And that it works well. You know, those roles give a lot of direction even to new players because they say, right, this is what you got to do. Oh, you picked the Predator role? Right, well, you better be roaming around ganking people and killing the enemy workers. There's actual mineral lines in that game, which is, right, from a StarCraft perspective, kind of weird to say that it's there, but they have these 4 mines, these spirit wells that give you passive income every minute, and you can just go and harass the mineral line and kill workers, which is a cool little feature that I like a lot. If you're playing a hunter, then you know you've got to be in the jungle most of the time, and you've got to be killing jungle creatures, and occasionally you've got to go out the lane and help a lane, you know. And the way the jungle's designed, because there are only 2 lanes instead of 3, it's much easier to come out and help the proper lane at the right time, because there's only the 2 lanes.
I like the 2-lane system, too.
Yeah, it's okay. I think it lessens the impact of split pushing, and kind of playing, you know, what's called rat Dota. This kind of backstabby idea. You get more team fights, and to be honest, like you can't really play Rat Dota, at least not easily with Dawngate, because when you get into the base, suddenly there's this giant motherfucker in the middle of the base called the Guardian that just starts shooting everything at you. It's got
big
a fucking
laser beams, just like
it's got a fucking eye laser. It does kind of bullet hell shit. It's got a bunch of different abilities. Instead of having inhibitors and towers in the base, they just put this guy in there, and he's got little energy orbs which you can destroy, which take away his abilities one at a time. It's like a raid boss in a MMO.
That's kind of cool.
It's pretty neat. And it means the fights in the middle of the base are extremely intense. It can also mean that there's big comeback potential. You can win a fight in your base having lost all your towers and then push and win. Because the Guardian helps out so much and throws out a lot of shit which is super important in a fight. It can really turn the game around. And obviously it eliminates the ability to kind of go in there and just kill something on your own because the Guardian's probably just going to wreck you anyway. So,
I could see interesting issues with it being like you need to be so far ahead to actually win a base fight that the game becomes a little bit stagnant, and that by the time you are ready for the base fight, you're just butchering people out in lanes anyways.
Yeah, and it can happen as well. Dodger, you had a game that went on forever, didn't you, where it ended up being a stalemate?
Oh my god. That game was the worst. We killed their whole team off. We got into their base. We destroyed all the cores. And we were just attacking that big monster in the middle. And somehow, they managed to still win that game. They killed all of us while we were attacking that guy. And then they came back and pushed into our base. And we kept like pushing back a little, but they just slowly got to us and killed our dude. And we lost. And we were like, how? And that game went on for an hour and a half. It was just ridiculous. It's like, this is what? I can't believe it.
Yeah, I wonder how they can deal with that stalemating problem. Because it's an issue in a lot of different Dota-style games. I think I would like to say that Heroes of the Storm eliminates it, but that's not true on all maps. Like, there are some maps where the stalemate can definitely happen, and it can happen for a long fucking time. The
dungeon level, nobody wants to go under there.
Yeah, that's changed a bit lately because they buffed that guy. Like, you can't really ignore it anymore. So they buffed that guy up pretty badly. I think the pirate level can turn into that because the way that the thing scales, which is maybe the way that it scales is not the best way to do it, but every time you hand in the requisite currency to make the bombardment happen, it costs more the next time. It can get to the point where there's no way you're getting 28 fucking gold coins, and then they're just sitting in their base, and they don't really kind of have to leave. Whereas on other levels, like if you do the Raven level, and they just sit in their base, and you collect that, they're fucked. Or, like I said, the mine level, if they sit in their base, and they ignore that objective, they're fucked. Or the Dragon Knight, But I think the pirate level, they can actually sit in their base quite a bit, because it can be very difficult to collect enough of those coins to finish them off. But I think even that, it does the best job of eliminating stalemates because of the objective-focused gameplay. Whereas with others, it's like, oh, yeah, come at me, bro, come into the base.
Can I ask a question?
No, you may not.
Sorry. I'm curious to know, as people who are heavily associated and involved with Blizzard games, does it bother you that they've made 2 games with the same acronym?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. My
fucking
God,
dumb.
yes.
Every time somebody's like, yeah, I'm just playing some HOTS, I'm like, what does that mean? Which HOTS? Which HOTS are you talking about?
Thankfully, no one really says that. They're just like, I played some SC2,
Yeah.
Heroes of the Storm is not such a good name that you get past the idea that you already came out with Heart of the Swarm. Like,
yeah.
That games get boiled down to acronyms, and they know this. Fucking WoW, World of Warcraft. Yeah. Everyone says WoW and has 15 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like they were like in a room where they're like, maybe they'll just call it Heroes. Maybe. Yeah, some people will call it Heroes, but they'll also call it HOTS. And you're just inviting this moment where everyone celebrates how dumb you are. That's what happens every time. Yeah. Everyone rolls their eyes and goes, Blizzard, what the fuck were you thinking? Then they move on and play the game. So it's not like it's, it's not like it hurt their sales or anything like that. It's just that it speaks to like ineptitude and these really negative words that probably don't apply to Blizzard. But because they named the game so poorly,
they bring it on themselves.
It gets invited. It's a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
It's bad. So yes, it bothers me a lot. As
pretty dumb. Pretty dumb.
Cool. Good to know.
I like that they poked fun at it though. That's why Blizzard's still fucking awesome, is because their April Fool's joke was to say that they renamed what was it, Legacy of the Void to
Herald of the Stars, I think was it, or something like that. It's like,
if you can poke fun at yourself, then
you
got major points in my book as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I like the fact that Blizzard has just been moving away from making these huge games that take so much money and a long time to make. It's like, hey, yeah, we made a little card game. Oh, shit, that became popular. Hey, yeah, we're making a little Dota game. Oh, yeah, that seems to be doing okay, too. Although, not even close to the
Code Titan.
We'll see what that happens with that. But it's not even close to being as popular as Hearthstone. Even now, like, you'd think the Hearthstone hype would have died down. Nope. Still one of the most popular games on Twitch. Currently sitting at 21,000 concurrent viewers. It is just below League of Legends. Currently Dota 2 is sitting at the top there, then followed by LoL, and then Hearthstone. And Hearthstone still gets the big views.
Click on Hearthstone, though. It's one guy. If you click
Trump?
that, maybe 2.
Yeah. Though what I've noticed is quite a few streamers that can maintain maybe 2 to 3K, and if Trump isn't online, there are... Amaz lately has been spiking up to 16,000 viewers. There are... Reynad, of course, came from that. There's still, like, a space for those players to become popular. Reynad was, like, nobody, and then he came into this area where he was just, like, super popular. Kriparian's basically fallen off the planet. And then you've got Trump, and then you've got, like, lately people like Amaz and Harfu's. Harfu's just been sitting around there, and she's even more popular now than she was. Yeah, 9,000 viewers. Harfu, she streams quite late at night, and she streams high level as well. I mean, she's streaming fucking Legend Ladder. So, she's not to be messed with.
What's funny, though? I have theories on this, too. So we talked about Minecraft, we talked about COD. My Hearthstone theory is that it has an audience right now of roughly 35 to 45,000 people, and those people are all of the exact same hive mind. So when one of the top streamers is streaming, they're all there, and they're like, and the other 500 or so are watching everybody else. When a tournament comes on, guaranteed 35 to maybe 40,000, not a hair more. It's all the same people, and I think they might live in Utah. I think it's the state of Utah that actually watches Hearthstone.
Just Utah.
Because we do that thing. I do that thing. This is something that's scientifically proven that people do this, said the walrus scientist. But, like, when a stream has a huge number, a lot of people click on that because they're like, what the fuck's going on here? I need to, what is happening here?
Yeah.
That's Hearthstone, man. And I did that. I clicked on a guy. I was like, Kriparian, who the hell is Kriparian, and why does he have 25,000 people watching him play Hearthstone? Surely he's drunk with a stripper on his head right now and having an emotional breakdown. Like, I need to be a part of this moment in Twitch history. Turn it on, arms crossed, slouched, down at an angle like this, blank white wall behind him, no music, nothing really, cards just in front of him, and he's like, oh, fireball. Yeah, that'll do 3 damage, but if I can get my minions out, I should be okay. And it was just like that for hours. And I don't understand. I don't get it.
Yeah.
There's something strangely relaxing about watching Hearthstone. But I think for other people, there's something strangely stressful about watching Hearthstone because they're eagle-eyed, right? They're looking out for those misplays. They're looking to backseat game the shit out of you because they're too scared to play the ladder. But they'll watch you play the ladder and criticize you doing it.
I've seen you rant about this. Apparently Hearthstone's infamous for that. Like, it is the back.
Honestly, like, I get asked to stream Hearthstone all the time, and I'm like, you don't want to watch me play Hearthstone because half of you are going to be telling me all of the wrong moves I'm doing.
Yeah, it's like you're doing it wrong.
I don't know if I can handle that. I don't know. I feel like I'll leave that stream and be like, I'm just never gonna play Hearthstone again.
I have a lot of difficulty dealing with that. Like, it's just annoyance as well because, like, what's the point in telling me about my mistakes in the past 10 to 24 hours after I release the video? It's like,
so that you'll learn.
Just like you'll learn. It's like I won't remember anything you said. Like, and the mistake that I made at that point was probably just because I wasn't paying attention. I make a lot of mistakes in video games. But for some reason...
It's the form of the game, though. Like, MOBAs incite rage. They make people mad. This is proven. And I guess card games invite people to let you know that you're dumb. And they're smarter than you.
Yeah.
This is a numbers game. When it really comes down to it, it's all about numbers. And I think that, maybe you don't have the right state of mind to be, to excel at a game
You're not
like
a STEM major, so you can't understand Hearthstone at the highest possible level.
Get out of here. Do what I want.
I mean, I agree with them on that point. It is a numbers game. For some reason, my videos get 200,000 views each when I play Hearthstone badly, and I'm going to keep doing it because I like money. It's as simple as that.
That's the numbers for you. The numbers game.
It's like, that's my numbers game, motherfuckers.
You should do... John, I want you to do more, like... I wish I had...
Sorry, are you giving me requests, Jeff?
I am.
Are you giving me a request?
About to happen.
This usually
you'll like
goes well.
This, though. You'll like this, because this is... When I reach this level, look out for this because I won't be able to bat signal this because you have to do it in secrecy. When I get to the stage where I have a fan base like yours, where I release a video and there's a big, hopefully someday, it's not a given,
then people
obviously.
threaten to kill you. Yes.
Yeah, that'll be the side part. But what I'll do is I would like to do videos where I know what I'm doing, and what I would do is I would play a game as badly as possible and just like seem to bumble through it and be like, well, this is, like, for an example that I understand, like, let's say Hearthstone. I just throw out a terrible character, and I'm like, well, that was absolutely the best choice at that time. I couldn't have done anything better. This is so dumb. This game's broken. And I wonder if your videos would get more views and people would become more angry, but that anger would steamroll into more money coming your way.
Absolutely.
Dress in different ways. Wear fucking pretentious, like a shirt that says I'm God, and wear a hat backwards while chewing bubble gum. I bet you could get 500 million views of angry people.
500 million.
I have no doubt about that.
Miley Cyrus just by being
in views
bad at games. Yeah.
I've told you before, unless you're in a very, very popular game, being bad at a game is way, way, way better than being good at a game, you know? Which is why Winter, StarCraft, and Avillo are the top-rated streamers.
I know. My God. That is it's so interesting though. Speaking of this, like the number one, at least he was last I checked, the number one most subscribed guy, PewDiePie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
At that same moment in time where I was like, my mind exploded because I was like, wait a second, hang on. This guy he has what is it, like 20 million subscribers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's above that now. It's crazy.
Something like that. Some crazy.
It doesn't
video
fucking
had
stop.
Hundreds of millions of views, and I was like, wait. I need to see what this video is because clearly. This is the pinnacle of human creation. He gave birth to a killer whale from a vagina that he grew in a lab and attached to his side hip.
Right.
This is what I'm about to witness. I turn it on. It's him, Cam like this. And he's like, I'm gonna play a game, and and everyone, the comments are just freaking the fuck out. Everyone's loving it, and I'm like. And it's one of those like horrific moments like Children of the Corn where you look around and everyone is 3 feet tall with blonde hair and vacant faces and you're like, oh my God, I'm alone in this like truly the darkest moment of my life.
Never
was
felt
when I realized
so
that.
alone.
And then he's like,
I can relate in a very big way. For those of us who do this professionally, we do not understand why that is as popular as it is. And we often get very upset that it is as popular as it is.
We've come full circle. It's like we're talking about Minecraft all over again. It's the exact same conversation.
You could be. And in his defense, I got to interview him with James at a DreamHack a couple years ago. And we were
that must have been funny.
Well, we were expecting to troll the shit out of him because we were like, this Toolbox is such a goofy, like ridiculous human being. Surely we'll be able to have
really nice, right?
He's not even just really nice. He's fucking cool as shit. He's so cool. We like teased him a couple times. And he's like, all right, yeah, it's pretty silly. Yeah, I don't know, I have a good time, and I like people. And we were like fucking.
It's like, fuck
this guy.
That's actually
like
pretty
rubber
admirable.
glue,
He's actually a really cool guy, and in his videos, he's like, he doesn't. I don't know. It scientifically it blows my brain. I don't understand it.
It's a character.
Cool.
It is a character.
He's a cool guy.
And some people, for some reason, like the character. There you go.
Not even some people, John.
Shitloads of people. Shitloads of people
on YouTube.
Yep.
I have a request.
A break.
Yeah, can we go to a break?
Yes, we've actually been dragging on for a little bit long. So.
John, it's like a mafia birthday. I was getting excited, but okay. Yeah, break's fine.
I'm just getting sad right now. But we'll come back and we can talk about news and console peasantry. It'll be wonderful. Console peasantry. You're watching the Co-optional Podcast. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-optional Podcast for the final kind of 40 minutes of the show. We've still not managed to get onto news, so let's do that right now, shall we?
Okay. Sounds good.
Well, damn, we had 2 hours of good gaming-related discussion. That's ruining the show.
Yeah.
So
Did it.
Let's start with perhaps, well, do we want to start with the console peasantry watchdog news, or do we want to start with the Kinect announcement? Xbox? Start with Xbox, okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
So, recent announcement, which is kind of a long time coming, at least in the view of a lot of people, that a new Xbox SKU will be released, which doesn't have the Kinect with it, basically. It will be $100 cheaper, which makes sense considering they said that the reason that the thing was $100 more expensive was because of the Kinect in the first place.
Yeah.
And it will be... When is the release date for that? It is...
Do we have one?
9th of June, actually. Yeah, so in other words, next month. That's when it's
Good for them.
Out. Yeah.
I mean, the new Kinect, by the way, for those, I guess, that don't have an Xbox One yet or are on the fence, is really great. It's a great Kinect thing, but there's actually no reason to have it.
There's nothing that uses it yet.
No. And they might
like turn it on with your hands shit that they advertise. Notice how they're not advertising that anymore? That's because it doesn't really work either. I've heard of some people that have been able to get their Xbox Ones to respond to their voices, but mine ends up a shouting match. I'm like, Xbox on. I'm sorry. What did you say? Xbox on. Xbox on.
Yeah.
Xbox on! And nothing happens.
Yeah.
So that might just be mine. But
I wanted to be able to do that and be able to turn on that in my TV by walking into the room and saying that, and then, browsing Netflix and doing, because the Netflix voice search is actually very, very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I've
the
noticed that.
Bing powered cloud stuff that they do there is really good, and it's very accurate. And I can search says like, find me Star Trek Insurrection, and why you'd want to do that, I don't know, but find that, and it will find it very easily. And it'll just play, and then just say play, and go. It's great, cool. I didn't even have to pick up a controller. But I can't get the motherfucker to turn on when I ask it to be. I can get it to turn off, no problem at all. Like, it'll leave the room as soon as it can.
You can search for shit, so your Netflix works? I need to do that then, because that's awesome. But yeah, I did the trial and error of a monkey against a fence where I was like, Xbox on! And it's not on, and I'm like, well, the whole thing must be broke. Fuck this. Okay? I'm not even touching it, so I haven't touched it.
The Netflix Bing voice search, you look up how to do that. It's not immediately obvious how to do it, but basically if you use the Bing system within it, it will, and you look for something that's like a movie, it will tell you, oh, these are the apps that you've got on your machine that will give you access to this. So it works fairly well. But the argument that they were making initially with the Kinect was that if you include it with every system, then it means that if you have Kinect features within your game, or you make a game for Kinect, that you have an audience already, right?
Right.
So the argument that was being made in favor of including it was, oh yeah, that means there's going to be some great Kinect games made, because they know when they make a Kinect game, shitloads of people actually have it. Huh?
Yeah.
So that's brilliant. But
how many games have come out that use the Kinect so far?
Not that many. And the ones that have are bad. Kinect Sports Rivals is a piece of shit. Oh my god. I tried playing the demo for that. I tried playing they have a jet ski game. Fucking hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. It barely works. And I have a kind of big room that's the right size for that kind of thing. It is a joke. And it doesn't seem like they have really evolved that too much at all. Has it created a bunch of great games for Kinect? No, it hasn't. Has it had a good amount of Kinect functionality built into existing titles that's useful? Not really. It's gimmicky shit.
If we're being honest with ourselves, I want to hear your guys' opinion on this, because I am actually completely okay with that. Like, when they first started announcing all this motion stuff in video games, listen, if I wanted to play tennis, if I wanted to exercise, I'd go outside. Don't know why I would do that, but that's what I would do. When I play video games, I want to sit on a comfy couch, a comfy chair. It's got to be about 2 feet away from the monitor or the TV, because I can't see very good. And then I want to play the game and relax. When I was getting worried in actually Heavenly Sword, which is the most obscure reference, but only made us slightly more relevant because we talked about it kind of in the show, was one of those games where I was kind of worried, because I didn't want to be that guy like, oh, cool, I threw the spear and now it's going through a window and it hit the guy in the head. I know. I don't want to be physically moving. I know I'm not everybody, and like Wii Sports is cool, and there have been implementations of these Kinect-like devices that people enjoy, but I'm that gamer that would rather just sit and not move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I wouldn't even question that. That sounds absolutely right.
I like having the option, but we don't even have an option right now. Like, we don't have good motion games for Xbox One yet.
That's actually a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe my opinion is shallow because there hasn't been an amazing example of it.
Yeah.
If there was an amazing
all
example.
suck.
There was a couple of games for the original Kinect that were okay. And then there were a bunch more that fucking were not. And what we're talking about, I think, is the difference between just a fitness and a dancing game, which is easy enough to do, you know? Even fucking Star Wars Kinect, the dancing was still fine, you know? It did the job. It was accurate enough. It was dumb, but it was accurate enough. Yeah. But what other games are good for it? Well, I can name 2 games that are kind of core titles that I think are good. One is called Gunstringer, which nobody fucking bought. The only reason I think anyone had Gunstringer was because I think they did a bundle with it with Fruit Ninja for Kinect. And the other game was Child of Eden. Yeah?
Child of Eden, yeah.
Which was pretty good.
Yeah, that was
very
a good
colorful,
game.
very fun. And that was about it. And then there was a bunch of letdowns, like the fucking, oh god, what's the name of it? Steel Battalion. What a piece of shit that was. And that could have been great. It was called Steel Battalion Heavy Armor. It's like, this is going to be a core game for Kinect. You're going to like pull down here to pull this lever, and then you're going to activate this, and you're going to, woo! You're going to have this virtual control scheme. And it was useless. Fucking useless.
I'm okay with the tapered off version of this that is the swipe pad on the PS4 controller. Like, again, hasn't been implemented for absolute shit, but I'm okay with using
Infamous
my hand
uses
in
it.
that way. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
And it's fine.
I think Killzone has it as like your, it's how you deploy your bot or something like that. Your aid. So little things like that is okay. I'm not seeing it like, there's not going to be anyone that walks out of a test room and is like, guys, the fucking finger swiping is the best thing I've ever done in my life. No one's going to say that, but it's like a nice little multimedia, like a different way to play games. It's okay.
An interesting thing would be to look at the Wikipedia list of Kinect games, and then to sort by Kinect required. Now, if you go there, you sort by Kinect required, and then right next to it is the games rankings ratings, as well as the Metacritic ratings. Now, usually I don't put too much stock in this, but you can see there are not that many good ones, and the good ones are the dancing ones, like Dance Central 2, Dance Central 3. Gunstringer, one of the highest rated Kinect games, yeah? Of course, no one fucking bought it, but still. And then you have shit like the Black Eyed Peas Experience, Alvin and the Chipmunks Chipwrecked, Brunswick Pro Bowling.
Wait. Don't just gloss over this. Did you say chipwrecked or shipwrecked?
I said chipwrecked. That was a deliberate pun by them. So you want to know who you can thank for this? You're going to love this. Jeff, you know our wonderful game master for Dark Heresy? It's by his company, Behavior Interactive. He made it. It's his fault.
More things to make fun of him for.
It's going to be beautiful. I'm looking forward to this one. Most of the games on Kinect that required it were a piece of shit, and any attempt to create a good game, like, say, Fighters Uncaged, for instance, like, hey, a fighting game with Kinect, that sounds like a great idea. Doesn't fucking work. No one has made a good one. Nobody. It doesn't work. The best thing, I think the best motion control fighter that's ever been made is Super Punch-Out on the Wii, which uses the Wiimotes, yeah? And then Wii Boxing as part of Wii Sports is a close second to that. And all the other stuff that came out on this is either fitness games, which some of them are good, some of them are bad, and just other pieces of shit like Sonic Free Riders, which was rated like one of the worst games ever made. Steel Battalion Heavy Armor, which is a piece of shit as well. And then things like Fable the Journey, which are playable, but would have been better if they didn't require Kinect. You know?
That's what I like about this new package, though, is because for a lot of people, those dance games are what brought them into gaming. They're fucking awesome. And of course, they're not, you can't do that without motion detection. So that's why it makes sense to be like, well, I'm going to play all the Dance Centrals that come out, so I need that Kinect. I'll pay the extra $100 for it, and I'll get my use out of it. For a lot of us other people, if you look at this and what John just got done listing off, it seems actually virtually pointless unless, again, you're using a lot of Netflix and you really like the voice command and you want to pay $100 for that, which is cool. Some people would. I would. I think that's cool technology, and sometimes moving your arms and getting up off the couch is too hard. So I would spend the money to do that.
So there's some interesting stats and also a quote that I want to give you. The quote comes from Phil I'll try and not mangle his name. Phil Tibitsky, who is the president and community manager of Young Horses, the developers of Octodad. Yeah. He recently put out a tweet that said, well, we were thinking about doing a Kinect game. And when asked, well, that answers one of the questions right there, what developers think a lack of ubiquity for this peripheral going forward is going to do. And he says, it's hard to get access to your game via peripheral. If you don't know who will have it, it narrows your market. Now, one of the main points that I just kind of revisiting here is that having the Kinect as it stands for everybody meant that you could make those Kinect games and you know that everyone will actually have a Kinect. But I have to wonder if that's as big a problem as people made it out to be.
No, that guy can go fuck himself. There's 5 million people that already bought it with the Kinect.
Yep, that's a good point.
Is he planning on making a game that's going to sell more than 5 million copies? If so, then that level of ego is absolutely incredible. Like,
It definitely limits your market, but not as much as I think he thinks it does. Considering the original Kinect shipped over 24 million units. It's in the Guinness World Records book for the fastest selling piece of consumer electronics pretty much ever. It sold like 8 fucking million units in 60 days. 60 days. Like, that is a huge installed user base.
That is a consumer base that you don't need to worry about being limited by. Like, if that was 2 million, okay. That's kind of a concern. Moving forward, are those people scrapping their Xboxes? Are they advancing to the Xbox 2? No. None of these things. So you still have the consumer base. It shouldn't be a concern.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird as well to say, we're just going to develop exclusive for Xbox One with Kinect. Well, why don't you make Xbox? There's loads of people that still have Kinect and 360s, and they're still perfectly viable platforms, so make it for that. Yeah. But honestly, this whole idea that, it was going to be great because everyone would have one and there'd be great games developed for it has not yet materialized. Is it too early? Maybe. But outside of the dance game, there's not a single example that I can think of on the Xbox One where the Kinect is like an essential piece of hardware. And there's certainly no game that justifies it.
I think we get close to the point where we say it's not a successful model, it's a niche model. Like, there are going to be people that want those dance games and want those sport games, and they're not the majority of people. They're not the majority. So make it available, which is what they should have done, and they probably would have saved a lot of money doing that. I think in games, you won't see a whole lot of motion revolutionizing stuff, but they could have done a lot more with the UI, basically, like the things we were complaining about. If you could walk in a room and thumbs up your Xbox and say on, and it actually turns on,
actually works,
command everything,
that would be nice. Yeah,
that would actually be incredible, and people would of course love to have that technology. What a flashy thing to have in your living room when you got like your music queued up there and a party starting. You're like, Xbox on, music, play dance, dance category, and it starts playing music. People are like, what is this, the future? Are you Jetsons? Are you Mr. Jetsons? Like, that's really cool shit. But we don't do
on
that.
The fucking Enterprise at this very moment, ordering a computer around it. It's just such a great feeling.
You're on the holodeck. We're not really here.
They could. I would throw my money at them so hard if that's how it worked, but no.
But it doesn't work that way, and it doesn't. Half the time, it doesn't work anyway. And this is the second shot they've had at this. The first one worked even less. So I don't see the essential nature of it. I think it certainly contradicts what they were claiming, that the Xbox One was designed around Kinect and had to have Kinect in order to work. That was clearly untrue. As soon as you got your hands on an Xbox One, you could clearly see this is easy to navigate with a controller, just like the other one was. This is no problem at all. Maybe it's quicker to do a voice command, but only if it gets it right the first time, because otherwise it's going to take me somewhere else. So I might as well just do it the traditional way. I stopped using it after I'd kind of gotten over the novelty of it. Unless I was, again, searching Netflix is pretty cool because it saves you typing, and the typing on a controller is obviously a piece of shit and terrible. But outside of that,
a funny standard of the industry too is that we accept that it doesn't work, and that's okay. We just kind of laugh about it. But imagine if your electronic car keys or your power windows to your car it's like, hey, here's this great feature and it's part of the car, and then it just doesn't work. Would people accept that? Absolutely not. But we do, because
video games.
I don't know. We're victims of video games. Yeah. Yep. I don't even know what to say.
Video game shit is broken most of the time. And we seem to have come to a state where we're accepting of that. Speaking of broken.
Yes.
1, Dodger's air conditioner. 2, Watch Dogs.
Is it really?
Must be pretty warm in there. Watch Dogs. There's been... the broken first is the bloody communication. Like, there's been a huge breakdown in communication regarding this game over the last few days. It's had some messaging problems over the last 6 months. They showed footage which was a clear downgrade from what they initially showed with the announcement, which that pissed a lot of people off. And then they said, oh, yeah, it's totally going to run at 1080p 60. Then they removed that from the site. Then they put it back on. This is the crazy thing about it, that I think it was only yesterday that they said, no, guys, totally, it's going to run at 1080p 60. Yeah, it was Ubisoft not like 12 hours ago. I think they've actually removed that post now. I'm just going to try and find the source for this. It's like, it was a translation from a German article where Ubisoft openly talked about 1080p 60 with PlayStation 4, and in fact the game doesn't show any subjective drops in frame rate, which apparently was false information. And now on the Ubisoft blog, they have confirmed that on Xbox One, this thing is going to run at a resolution of 792p. And on the PS4, it will run at 900p, both at 30 frames per second. which
Boo.
has made a lot of people fucking furious.
Watch Dogs has been... It's interesting. Someone could almost make a feature film about what's going on behind the scenes, because it's like... Does anybody remember that it was kind of supposed to be launched last November?
Yep, it was.
Yeah.
Huge delay.
Back.
Huge delay.
The United States had like a name issue with it. They had to go to court to determine if it could even be called Watch Dogs in the United States.
Yeah.
This is one of the most hyped games from E3 like 3 years ago.
Yep. Won a bazillion awards for a game that's not out yet, because games industry.
Rightfully, well, kind of rightfully so. It in theory is a gorgeous, awesome concept made by a proven great developer in Ubisoft, but the anti-hype that's like essentially happening and killing Steam and just slowing it down is incredible. Like, this news is bad, but this is a part of a cluster of bad that's come out with this game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. And I certainly feel sorry for anyone that has these next-gen machines and was really expecting this 1080p 60 experience. Before they bought that, it's like, oh yeah, 4K gaming is going to be amazing. It's like, ha! You're not going to 4K game on one of those systems? Are you out of your fucking minds? Look at the specs of this thing. Like, gaming laptop kicks the shit out of that. I mean, in a couple of years, we're going to have tablets that are more powerful than those systems. They're going to be made by Razer. They'll have 20 minutes of battery life and they'll melt. But regardless, we're going to have them because Razer just makes that shit.
Oh God, it's glorious. Oh God.
But I feel so sad for people that bought those consoles expecting that really true next-gen experience, and they can't even get 1080p 60. They can't even get 1080p 30. They're not even getting 1080p 30 on even the PS4 and the Xbox One. Holy shit, that's getting its ass kicked. 792p and then 900p on PS4. It's like, whoa, guys, I realize there's an optimization period, but this does not bode well for the next, 6+ years of these consoles' lifespan. They can't even manage that shit now, let alone later on. There were 1080p games coming out for the PS3 on launch, 1080p games, and they're not coming out for the PS4 right now. That's disturbing. Like, it's almost like they should have refreshed the console generation years before. And now, as a result of this, like, oh yeah, we just left those consoles out for 8 years. Like, shit, we better catch up with technology, and they haven't managed to do so, and still remain kind of cost effective. And yeah, it's an upgrade, but that's kind of pathetic. And I'm a bit worried. I don't know. Maybe I'm worried about it. Maybe I'm not. That this will affect the PC version in some way. It's like, oh, your console version only runs like that. Well, how well optimized is your PC version going to be then?
Well, to get back to the conspiracy theory thing that you were running down, I mean, do you think it would be smart for them to release these subpar editions and then be like, but don't worry, on the PC it is 1080p at 60 frames per second, like it's just vastly superior? That would crush their own console numbers.
Yeah, that's the thing, and that would also create like kind of a strained relationship as well with Microsoft and Sony.
Sony in particular, I think that even though technically it's not a Sony game, Sony's been pushing that pretty hard, and they have these kind of weird relationships, like, well, it's multi-platform, but they're kind of with us. Like, Call of Duty is an Xbox game, even though it's not. It's on other platforms, but it's on Xbox, because they get the DLC earlier. It's an Xbox game. That's the branding. It's brand association between these two different
All
IPs.
the tournaments are played on Xbox, and
and that they've been kind of aligning themselves that way with Watch Dogs. And now we find out that it's going to run at 30 frames per second, can't even manage 1080p, and PC is going to kick its ass 7 ways from Sunday. It's ridiculous.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. If that thing doesn't run well on PC, then
I think they would. It's in their interest for the reasons that Dodger just said, but also I think just good business sense. You can't release a vastly superior version. You can't. So now we're entering into a world that, because they are hamstrung by what they can do on console, they're also going to
be slowed down on PC as well.
Retard the PC version as well, just to make sure that it's not so much better.
Yeah, and that's not even a conspiracy theory. That's practicality.
That's the truth. Yeah.
It depends, because they're claiming PC was the lead platform. Yeah, if that's true, the PC version should be really, really good, because they optimized it for PC first and then they downgraded it for consoles. So sucks for console users, but if that's the lead platform, then that's fine. If that's not true, which is possible, God knows with the messaging lately, who knows what it actually was developed for originally, then we might have a subpar PC version. And if that's the case, that would suck. Ubisoft has had a mixed history with PC versions. The last big game they released on PC was, of course, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, which had a number of performance issues for quite a lot of people. It dipped below 60 on my system in places where it shouldn't. That you could tweak and optimize, and eventually it got better. But Assassin's Creed 3's PC version wasn't very good. But then, even though Assassin's Creed 2 had, and the other versions had some really, really bad like DRM issues, they ran really well. And there's some games run really well from Ubisoft. Far Cry 3 ran really well, as far as I'm concerned. Good game. Graphically very impressive. Ran well on most systems. Demanding game, certainly, but, it's a big open world, next-gen shooter, of course it is. So, it's hard to say. Like, Ubisoft don't have that reputation that says, oh yeah, the PC version will be fine. Like, say, Square Enix lately has had the reputation of, oh yeah, Square Enix is publishing it? Oh yeah, the PC version's going to be great then. Because they've had game after game after game where it has been. But Ubisoft doesn't have that, and it does worry me a lot. Because I like the look of Watch Dogs. I know the anti-hype circle joke is in full swing.
Bums me out so bad, because I'm just like, come on, guys.
Get your shit together. It gotta
be this way, yeah.
Yeah, really.
It's so bad too, because even if you just look at it from like the business sense, is this the stuff that they want to be announcing before their game comes out? Absolutely not. They're like legally obligated to, because they announced information that is quite the other. It's the opposite of this for the most part. So they have to say it, but it kind of speaks to the poorly ran, like, the entire experience so far.
I feel sorry for those that pre-ordered it, especially bearing in mind that for the longest time on the PS4 page, and they removed this from the page a few days ago, it said, this version will be 1080p 60 FPS. And people kind of pre-ordered based on that information. Turns out to be a lie. That is I would not be surprised if in, especially some European country where the consumer protection laws are stronger, that someone actually goes and says, this is fucking wrong, we're taking you to court over it.
Advertising.
It's yet another reason not to pre-order video games. Fucking stop it. Stop it. I got the Steam page right now. Top sellers, Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends, Watch Dogs. Second on Steam. Stop it!
Yeah.
With all of this miscommunication, why the fuck do you trust them? And I'm right, though. I'm right every time I say it. You know I'm right. God, you don't even get a discount. You don't even get a discount for pre-ordering it. $60 fucking dollars.
You don't get a discount, but GameStop will oftentimes give you some DLC. I
can't wait to get my Club Justice pack, which gives me a Chicago South Club skin and driving boost for more HP on vehicles.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's on the Digital Deluxe Edition, by the way. That's $70. And that's a bunch of content that they cut off the game and sold separately, because they're a bunch of dicks. The regular version, when you pre-order it, you know what you get for pre-ordering it? You receive the Bloom Agent pack. It's an outfit and a weapon perk that gives you slightly less recoil. $60!
Wow, for me?
Video games! It's the equivalent of buying the special edition of a movie before you've seen it and getting a holographic box. But if you move it, look at it. It's emotion. This is the fucking future right here.
Limited edition cover.
It's a limited edition steelbook case. God, you remember that? Like almost those big kind of specials. It's in a steelbook case. Like, but what's the point in that? Like, what benefit does the steelbook case have? I guess if I want to fucking defend my home with it, that's wonderful. But outside of that, there's no point in me owning this shit. It's God. It sucks that the Ubisoft have just bungled the miscommunication regarding this game time and time and time again. But the only people that lose are the fucking consumers over again. And I wouldn't say half of the fault, but some of the fault is at the foot of the consumer for just getting so hyped about it, buying into everything, and you're still pre-ordering it. You've heard all these problems, and you still trust them to come out with a great PC version. Man, you are optimistic. And if you get burned on that $60 purchase, sucks for you, but don't come crying to me, because I fucking told you time and again, stop pre-ordering video games. We're here, us YouTubers are here to take the bullet for you. Yeah, that's what we're here for. That's our fucking job. Let us take the bullet for you and stop standing in the line of fire. And more to the point, stop thanking the person that's opened fire on you in the first place. It's like, thank you for the bullet, sir. May I have another? Fucking idiots.
That being said, I totally encourage you guys to go and pre-order a lot of these games that are coming out, because you do get posters, and there is some DLC.
Oh my god.
Yep.
I'm so sad about games. Where the fuck did our industry go wrong?
Many, many different places.
Indeed. Very true. What else have we got on the news? Well, we're not going to talk about that.
We have releases.
We do. We do have releases. I'm trying to think if there's anything
Mario
else.
Kart 8.
Yeah, you've been wanting to talk about Mario Kart 8 for some inexplicable reason, so why don't you do that? We'll sit there and stare.
If it's inexplicable to you, I guess this will be a very short little rant of sorts, but...
Okay.
I have, and again, I try to acknowledge that, of course, nostalgia plays a part. You look at a game and what it used to be, your XComs, your Street Fighters, and you're like, back in the day, it was so much better. I do that with Mario Kart. I don't like the Wii editions. I did not like the GameCube edition. I just don't. I really, really don't like them. And I'm a snob about it because the SNES and N64 one, I actually preferred the N64 one, but the SNES one was great too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think are amazing. There was Diddy Kong Racing. There were some other versions of that kind of game, but this was the best, the absolute best. Battle mode's so fun. Time trials, of course, and then just racing against the AI with your friends. Some of the best times you can have with games, as far as I'm concerned. So it's been disappointing because we're at Mario Kart 8 now, for God's sakes. I didn't even. I didn't know.
You didn't realize, did you?
I did not know we got to 8. And
man.
I've been reading into it and looking it up, and I'm once again not excited. They've done where they've tried to return to the classic before, but they just kind of fell short. I don't really have any way to accurately describe my disappointment and key in on reasons why, but these games just aren't those. And again, I'm trying to overrule the nostalgia in my brain that's like, it's never going to be as good, but I think it's never going to be as good. I'm sad. That's it. That's my whole rant.
Yeah.
Okay. Will it be a system
neutral
seller?
on Mario Kart games.
Yeah, kind of me too. But funnily enough, we are kind of in the minority there, because Mario Kart Wii sold a ludicrous amount of copies. 35.53 fucking million copies on the Wii. Like, what?
That's ridiculous.
Those numbers are insane. Absolute bonkers.
I blame China. China, you are once again disappointing the rest of us. No, I think what it is that so many Wii games suck so much elephant dong that when one game is half competent and pretty good and based around a proven good game, you're going to buy it because your options are limited.
Yeah. Mario Kart 7 on 3DS
Party
is the second best-selling 3DS game of all time at 9.35 million copies.
No
it's only
way.
behind Pokemon X and Y. Yeah, seriously.
What?
Like, we can say whatever we want about them rehashing the same games over and over again, but Mario Kart, I don't know if you can call it as a system seller, because it's very hard to correlate those numbers, but 33 million copies! 33 million! 35 million, sorry. And even like almost 10 million on the 3DS is pretty impressive. Those are big numbers.
Huge numbers.
Yeah. I think, and they're banking on that and Smash Brothers, right, aren't they, to do that for the Wii U. Yeah? And I hadn't realized, I think, the numbers on Mario Kart so much. It kind of came to me, it's like, actually, maybe this will save their arse a bit. Because those numbers are insane. But I think the problem with it, the argument that you can make, is that the 3DS and the Wii didn't need saving at that time. Like, the Wii had already sold a shitload of copies anyway, and the 3DS is already successful. What I'd love to see is sales figures on, like, on Double Dash on the GameCube.
Yeah.
And I have them right here, actually. Let's see. Yep.
I'd love this thing that I have now.
The internet is good. 3.8 million copies in the US and 802,000 copies in Japan on the GameCube. And obviously the GameCube...
So roughly 4 million.
Yeah. I don't know about the European numbers. They won't release, but... How many people bought a GameCube? Because, I mean, it's widely accepted that in that generation, the GameCube lost that console war. Like, there was the sixth generation of consoles. It lost to the Xbox, and it lost to the PlayStation 2. How many units did this fucking thing actually shift? Its best-selling game, by the way, was Super Smash Bros. Melee, 7.09 million copies.
Surprises nobody.
Nobody ever, yeah. But,
absolutely nobody. That's a great game.
Yeah, worldwide, it shifted 21 million units. Yeah, that's the Nintendo GameCube.
I remember for me the best example of how shitty that system was at the time was they re-released a Resident Evil on that system. I think it was just like Director's Cut #1.
Yeah.
And it was so incredibly bad. Right from the beginning, like the control for it was horrible. The graphics were even worse than the PlayStation 2, which came out like a decade before that.
Yeah.
It was just bad marketing for them because, again, with my young adolescent mind at the time, I looked at it and I was like, this is vastly inferior. Why would I ever go near anything like this? And it was a major release, so that was, for me, my GameCube experience. And then I played some Mario Kart, didn't like that as much. The Smash Brothers game was better on that, and that was the only reason we had a GameCube, is our friends would bust that out to play Smash. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And it makes me very interested to just know whether or not these games that are obviously selling well, if you go back in that history, you will see Smash Brothers and Mario Kart are big sellers on their respective systems, regardless of what version. Even Double Dash, which is certainly not considered to be one of the better ones, still shifted like at least 4 million copies, most likely more, because we don't know the European figures on that.
Did it sell
systems?
The gaming market was smaller back then, actually. So those numbers are actually, in my opinion, kind of they should be considered almost inflated. They're big. They're huge.
Yeah, I wonder.
That was before Call of Duty was selling 20 million a night. You know.
Yeah. But I wonder if they are system sellers. And I think Nintendo, of course, would know whether or not that's true. And I think maybe that is why they're focusing on that so much. And maybe Mario Kart 8 and Smash Brothers are actually enough to kind of give it the Wii U the shot in the arm it actually needs.
Yeah. What's hard for them, though, is that you brought up this term, and I think it's so applicable, and that's just remaking already done games. Mm-hmm. That's been Nintendo's like mantra / strategy for the last 10, 15 years.
Yes,
and I think the Wii is an example of that not working. Like, this is not enough to get... I mean, there are going to be people that will buy the systems for these games, and someone in chat mentioned this too. It's a good one to note.
You have working chat. That's impressive. I haven't managed to get it working for the last hour. It's been
I'm plugged in.
But
like a good Star Fox, yeah, people would buy systems for that. But you're in a day and age where the headline is bought by these Xbox Ones and PS4s and CODs, where it's just gigantic numbers, huge openings. And Nintendo's like, we're the family guys. We're not about that. Mm-hmm. But yet they want the numbers of the people that are trying to do those things.
Yeah.
And it's this system that's built in place for them to fail. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have a Mario Kart 8 launch with people up the night before wrapped around the building.
Probably not.
So you can't market that. You shouldn't try.
You probably could pull it off with Smash. I think basically it's been a long time since the last Smash came out, and the last Smash was not considered to be a competitive game. Brawl had a lot of casual features in it. Melee is still the de facto standard for competitive play. There's a reason for that. Everyone is kind of hoping that this one will become the de facto standard. They're very hyped about it. So I think that will, of course, be their biggest release of the year. There's not even a doubt about that. Maybe that combined with Mario Kart is enough to sell systems. But again, was Mario Kart on Wii a system seller, or did it only sell well because the Wii was in pretty much every fucking household on the planet because it was a ludicrous seller?
They sold the Wii well, like its numbers were okay, and people bought the Wii, and the marketing for it was good. It was like, this is the family system. You're all included. We've got these
anyone can game.
Great ways to play. Yeah. Zelda was actually a good game that came out with the Wii. It was, by all measurements, people liked it and enjoyed it, and it was a good addition to that series. But then after that, they tried to do everything. They're like, hey, no, look, we can compete with the Xbox and PS4. We've got these hardcore Monster Hunter games, and we've got fighting games that are violent that are coming out as well that people will really enjoy. But we also have Wii Sports that'll get you fit and active because kids need to be not fat. And we've also got all the Mario games. So it ended up being a wash of everything, and it came out mediocre across the board. They're fighting violent games. Like Monster Hunter people really like, but for the most part, every other violent game on the Wii U, pretty terrible for the most part.
Yeah, for the most part.
The reason that I even use my Wii U is for Monster Hunter. It's the only thing.
And that's a decent deal in Japan, certainly. And Monster Hunter's building a fan base, but even then, it's still kind of a niche over in Western territories. It's weird, actually, looking even at the best sellers on Wii. Did you know Mario Kart Wii is the best-selling racing game ever made? It is.
Over Gran Turismo? That's incredible.
Yeah, more than Gran Turismo. It's the best-selling one ever made. Every single one of these, and this is the same problem that these systems have had for the last several generations, and this is why these systems live or die with Nintendo, is that all the best-selling games are all Nintendo games. Wii Sports, which was a pack-in, so it doesn't count. Mario Kart Wii, Wii Sports Resort, New Super Mario Bros. For Wii, Wii Play, Wii Fit Plus, Super Mario Galaxy, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Wii Party. You seeing the fucking theme yet? Mm-hmm. They're all... the first one that kind of isn't, and that was developed alongside Nintendo, was Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. And that was Sega
like
and Nintendo.
Brain suck, then.
That game was
That's
ridiculous.
Like a brain drain from their own ecosystem. They're basically like, with that information, if I'm a developer and I'm looking at PS4, Xbox, or Wii U,
Exactly.
The choices are pretty easy there.
Yeah, because my game won't sell. And the Wii had a massive installed user base, so you could still, people would still make ports for the Wii, because like a bazillion people own a Wii, yeah? So it's worth doing a port for the Wii, even if it's just a slapdash port. For the Wii U, now people are saying it's not even worth doing a port. It's not, what's the point? It's a waste of money. No one's going to buy it. The top 6 sell. There's only 6 games on the Wii U that have sold over 1 million copies. They're all Nintendo games, every one of them. And that is a ugly place for that system to be. We'll come back to this. We talked about this like last time as well. But looking at those numbers, maybe Mario Kart 8 is the answer. Maybe Smash Brothers is the answer. Maybe my information and my knowledge was wrong. And I don't want the Wii U to fail. I think it's a cool little machine. I like my Wii U. I like the fact that games like Wonderful 101 and Bayonetta 2 are coming on it. And I want those games to continue to be released in some way, and I don't want Platinum to go bankrupt again. So please.
I get the feeling that Smash Brothers is going to be more successful on 3DS.
You really think it will be?
No.
You don't think so?
Disagreement. Yeah, I think the hype that Nintendo will put behind this, I think this is their savior game. This is the game that either is going to ensure that Wii U kind of continues on the path that it's going, or it's going to be, or not Wii U, excuse me, Wii, right? Or I guess it's the same now. I don't fucking know.
I don't know.
It's coming out for Wii U, right?
Yeah.
New Smash Brothers.
Yeah, the strategy's weird because they're releasing it on 3DS several months before the Wii U version because they don't want cannibalization. That, and they'd love people to buy the same game twice, of course.
Of course.
But I don't think I'd be too big on a fighting game on a screen of that size. Even on my 3DS XL, I remember playing PlayStation All-Stars on the Vita. That shit's too small. I cannot play a game like that with that much going on. It's the same reason I couldn't play Power Stone on the PSP.
Matter, John.
It does indeed. But with the 3DS, I don't think I could play it on that. I'd want to play a game like Smash on a big TV. I really think I would. So I'm not sure I'll even get the 3DS version. So it's a weird kind of strategy they've got going on there, certainly. But I understand why they're doing it. Again, they don't want that cannibalization. They're like, look, we know there's way more 3DSs out there than there are Wii U's. We want to sell it on both systems, but if we release it both at the same time, the Wii U's going to get its ass kicked again. And for the love of God, we need to sell Wii U's right now.
Yeah, and it's not cross-platform, right?
I think there is cross-platform multiplayer.
Well, no, not Xbox and PS.
No. Oh, sorry. By cross-platform, do you mean 3DS and oh, you mean Wii so the 3DS can play with the Wii? I hope so. I mean, they let you do that with PlayStation All-Stars. Let you do that with the Vita and the PS3.
Then that's weird. Why wouldn't they release them at the same time? Because if you could play from your 3DS to your Wii U, you wouldn't buy two
there's no cross-platform. That is why. There's apparently no cross-platform play between 3DS and Wii U.
Well, it's bad, but it makes more sense for the launch purposes, right?
Yeah. Totally.
So there are going to be a lot of people that will buy it for the 3DS because they're like, well, I travel a bunch and, it's a good game. Yeah. And then there's going to be people that if you want to play competitively or not even competitively,
you've got to get the Wii U version.
The spirit of the game is the Wii U. Yeah.
That's actually borderline evil. I'm very proud of Nintendo for being able to pull that off. It's like, you guys might survive as a company yet. You're a bunch of dicks, which is what you need to be in this industry.
I know, man.
Oh, me, oh, my.
It's true.
Yeah. Let's do releases.
Okay. Okay, today, the 13th.
Yes.
Soul Sacrifice Delta is released for PlayStation Network Vita.
Ah, yes, the upgraded version of Soul Sacrifice, which is a pretty fucking good game.
Yeah, that's not DLC, right? It's like expanded, or
that's a great question. Let's find out, shall we? It's you probably have to buy this separately. Let's see, what's the Delta version? I haven't been keeping track too much of Delta, because it's one of those weird things, like, Japan loves it. We're going to upgrade the game, but we're not going to provide it as DLC, and we're going to sell you the game separately. Like Persona the Golden is a prime example of that. There's all sorts of games that do that.
It's a sequel, it looks like.
It's kind of a sequel. Ish. Again, it's more like, I think, Persona 4 the Golden. Like, it's the same game, but they include new bosses. There's a third faction called the Grim. There are co-op attacks and more. So it's one of Japan's weird... It's not a DLC, but it's not a sequel. But it's also full price. Enjoy that. And Japan has no problem buying those.
It's the same game, but more.
Yeah, Japan has no problem buying that. And it's a good business model for them.
Yeah.
It's a standalone
so that's
follow-up.
Coming out.
Yeah, so is that.
And both TB and I enjoyed Soul Sacrifice, although
Soul
it did get
Sacrifice.
repetitive after a while.
Yeah,
but maybe this fixes that.
You've kind of got to play it co-op.
The name, though, that's your Soul Sacrifice, right?
Indeed.
Also,
I knew there was a
Duck
reason not to bring you
Game
onto the
for
show.
Ouya.
I'm sorry, Ouya? Why is the Ouya
Yeah.
game on the release list?
I don't know.
Is that
Duck
how
Game,
you say
guys.
it?
Go
Ouya?
Google it.
Yeah.
Ouya.
I like to call it Eeyore. People got really pissed off at me because I went through 3 months of just calling it Eeyore, and it's like, stop doing that! Nope, it's too funny.
I won't. I refuse.
Fuck you.
And make that YouTube video where you refer to that.
The Eeyore.
Millions.
Borderlands 2 for the Vita.
Apparently runs like shit, and you can only co-op 2 people in it.
You can only co-op 2 people. Yeah.
Is that a
and
surprise to
apparently
anyone?
it's
No.
Pretty framey and weird.
It's like, oh,
couldn't
thank
get it
God,
to work.
finally, the thing I was
Yeah.
waiting for on the Vita is Borderlands. No?
Major release
No.
game ported down to a handheld. Surely this will run just as good, if not better.
It'll be beautiful.
Yeah.
Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends Complete Edition for PC.
Dynasty
Jesse's
Warriors
not
on
here,
PC?
so you
It's
can
been a long time, baby.
over.
A lot of the previous versions of Dynasty Warriors have only come out in Asian territories on PC, like Taiwan, and the ports have been terrible. Apparently, this port's good. It runs at 1080p 60, as in more than Watch Dogs, and it's Dynasty Warriors. I'm going to be playing it probably either tonight or tomorrow. I'll be looking into it.
I like to believe that that's not actually the 8th Dynasty Warriors. It's just the 8th one of that extended name, because there's so many effing Dynasty Warrior games that have been out for 20 years.
It's not just the 8. Like, every time they do... The way that I think they do it, for the most part, they may have changed this up recently, but the way they used to do it was they released Dynasty Warriors, they then followed up with Dynasty Warriors Extreme, which is actually one of those, again, Japanese kind of standalone things. And then there's Dynasty Warriors Empires, which has more of a kind of strategy element to it, but it's still kind of the same thing. And then they put the number up, and then they do the fucking thing again. And they've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
Well,
Also, last today is Serious Sam 3 BFE for PlayStation 3 Network.
that's pretty cool. They're bringing that... I think... Was that game out on PlayStation previously, or did they just 3
Is that BFE in the cool, like, Doom-like sense
Yes.
that we all know what that stands for?
Serious
Awesome.
Sam is that in a nutshell, honestly, and it's just wonderful. Yeah, that's an interesting one. The PlayStation 3 release date is actually now. This game came out 2 years ago. They're just getting around to bringing it out to PS3 for some reason. So there you go. Weird.
Cool. So that's it for today. Tomorrow, Super Time Force comes out for Xbox Game Store and Xbox One.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the indie games that they managed to grab as an early release, didn't they? Yeah, that's disappointing. Although it might, again, be a reason to turn on my Xbox, so...
Yeah, I was going to say, but we were just
Yeah.
talking about how we need reasons to play it.
Yeah, it's by Cappy, who are awesome because they have made really cool games like Sword and Sorcery. And they're making Below at the moment as well.
Below.
Yes, which looks good. Cool.
May 15th, we've got Battle Block Theater for PC and Linux.
Yeah, it took the bloody time on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I'll be doing... I did a video of that years ago when I played the build at PAX, but that was on... It came out on Xbox 360 first. Eventually they ported it to PC, so that's cool. I'll get around to playing it.
Next up is Scram Kitty and his buddy on Rails.
I'm sorry, what?
I remember playing this like 2 years ago at an event. It's a Nintendo game. It's like a weird little indie Nintendo game.
Oh, the Wii U is saved. Great.
Yeah, where I don't even know how to explain it. You'd almost have to watch like the trailer for it.
With a unique control system. Where is it? Bloody hell. I clicked the Nintendo. It was actually on the Nintendo website describing what it is, and then the description that was on Google is completely different to the one here. Take control of Buddy, a rail-riding, laser-shooting young hero in a perilous quest to rescue his pet cat, Scram Kitty, which is a stupid name for a cat. With a unique control system that allows for full 360-degree platforming action and thrilling 2D shooting, Scram Kitty and his buddy on rails will see you glide along glowing rails, leap across chasms, create arcing streams of shots as you rid each stage of its rodent aggressors, and rescue all the cats imprisoned within. If you're not Let's Playing this game immediately, Brooke, you're an idiot. Battle through multi-objective stages. Use distinctive weapons. Scram Kitty. Apparently, it has a blistering original Electrosynth soundtrack. Blistering.
I like how you're reading off the synopsis for what this game is, and it's about a guy on rails saving his cat, and then it says its name is Scam Cat or whatever. And you're
Scam Cat.
Scam Cat, I wish.
Nintendo's marketing derailed.
That's the
Scam
thing that
Cat.
stands out to you, is that the name of the cat is dumb. Not that you are some kind of futuristic childish warrior saving a cat. No, that's fine. But the cat's name is dumb.
But that cat's name is real bad.
Yeah, it's a pretty stupid name.
I like it.
Perfect.
I mean, I don't
well,
like the name. I like that.
We've also got Moon Chronicles Episode 1 for 3DS.
Okay, I don't know a damn thing about that one.
Chronicles.
Oh, shit, it's that one.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yes, I actually do know what this is. The
It's
game...
a Nintendo game.
Yeah, the game Moon came out for the DS. It was one of the most graphically impressive games on the DS. It was a first-person shooter, basically. Really, really cool. And it's apparently being remastered for the 3DS. I will actually play that because Moon was amazing and nobody bought it. So it would be a great time, I think, to play that.
Sick. And last but not least, for the 15th, we've got Mega Man 4 for 3DS.
Well, great. Haven't played that one 5 times before on different systems.
Mega Man 4 at all. That's like Mega Man 4 for the DS, but it's actually Mega Man 28 or 29.
Yeah, probably.
And that's it until next Tuesday.
All right. Well, we're not at the end of the month. There's actually quite a lot of stuff coming out at the end of this month, isn't there? There's what Wolfenstein is coming out,
which I played.
Yep.
Yeah, the version I played like about a year and a half ago sucked, but apparently it's become a lot better since then. Yeah,
very good.
I'm starting to get a bit excited. It's like
no
they're claiming.
Multiplayer.
Yeah, they're claiming it's 20-hour campaign though. 20-hour FPS these days.
Wow.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a long time.
Great mechanics, gorgeous graphics. It was a hidden gem because I feel like the Wolfenstein franchise suffers from what you just mentioned, Mega Man. I can think of like Super Metroid. These are franchises that have been bastardized and just ran to the ground.
No doubt about that.
Wolfenstein probably worse than all the others. Like it's just been so mishandled. But this game, it's pretty awesome. It's like
Seems all right.
it takes itself serious but not serious at the same time. Like you start off in a bomber, it crashes, and then the first thing you see is a gigantic Nazi dog robot that's running around tearing people to pieces out on the beach, and you're like, yeah, that seems about right. This is really cool.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
great.
of course, we've got Watch Dogs coming out this month as well, so that's a fairly big deal. Murdered Soul Suspect is out kind of just at the start of next month, June the 3rd, which I'm looking forward to as well. It's finally we're starting to get some games. We've had a couple of months of drought, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Like, what was the last big game that was released? Really, actually, South Park? I think it might have been.
Diablo, right?
Yeah, if you count the expansion. Outside of
yeah,
that,
of course. That's what I'm saying. Diablo was a big deal. Titanfall was a big launch.
yeah, I suppose Titanfall. Yeah, not too many.
It's summertime. This is the time for big movies and big games to come out. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's more Christmas, I guess, but still.
November,
the
hell
games
month. Yeah,
November's crazy.
it is indeed.
I heard, actually, it's kind of. I was talking to some industry people, and because the launches for these next-gen consoles has been so lackluster, the speculation is that this coming E3, a lot of the devs and a lot of the design people and the studios themselves are waiting for around E3 time to really blow up a lot of exposure for their games and take advantage of the fact that there's not a whole lot going on right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool.
Could have an exciting E3 this year. That would be pretty cool. Last few have been a bit lame. Well, that pretty much wraps us up for the show, actually. We've already overrun, so that's always a good sign. We had a good discussion. Jeff, thank you very much for coming on the show. Much appreciated. Of course, before I kick you off, I'd like to give you the opportunity to tell everyone what it is you do, where they can find you, and plug any sponsors that you happen to have, which could take a while.
I do an abbreviated version these days. But first of all, thank you guys for having me on. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the show, watched a lot, and I actually really like talking games, but as a StarCraft 2 professional, like, not only is that sometimes kind of, it used to be looked down upon, but now
I remember the Deus Ex incident. That was sad, actually.
It's more okay now. People seem to accept it, but I really enjoy it. So thank you guys for giving me that venue to talk about, and I'd love to do it more in the future.
Yeah, you were great.
Thank you. But yeah, some shout outs, of course, to my sponsors at Evil Geniuses. It's the team that I'm a part of. Couldn't live this life of gaming without them. So just support Evil Geniuses. We just signed a COD team. We just signed a Smash player. And of course, we're famous for our fighting divisions, StarCraft 2, League of Legends, and Dota 2. We're very successful across the board, so check us out. And all of our lovely sponsors that make that possible as well. And then for me personally, if this is your first encounter with me, hello. I'm usually pretty funny, or I'm not funny, and I fail gloriously at that. And I would appreciate your support if you want to follow me on Twitter at iNcontrol. And otherwise, I stream on Twitch, and that's pretty much my life in a nutshell, so thank you.
Very cool. Dodger, what's coming up this week on the channel? What can we see?
Well, we might have some Guns of Icarus happening.
Yes. What's our release schedule for that? That's like the first video comes out like tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday.
I think Thursday.
Yeah, something like that.
A bad sign that we're both like.
Probably check the schedule for that.
Yeah. But anyway, there will be the Guns of Icarus that we've all been talking about and teasing out will be happening this week. I also do news every weekend, and I'm looking into some new games to be playing. I'm also working really hard on Swords and Stitches to bring that back. I've been teasing out pictures of that as well, and it seems like you guys have been excited, so that makes me excited. But that's all on my channel, Press Start to Continue. That's where I do all my gaming stuff, and then I have another channel, youtube.com/dexterity bonus, where I drink coffee for 10 minutes every day and talk about my cats, and it's, that's the thing.
Are you being serious right now?
Yeah,
that's a mega show.
That's what I do on
Coffee
my other
and
channel.
Cats.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yeah, A+. It's the internet.
Yeah.
So,
you know how we get
That's
confused
like
about
the Holy
PewDiePie's content? We get confused about that as well.
Yeah.
But for different reasons.
Come hang out. So yeah, feel free to subscribe to either of those or come and watch and see if you like it. And also on all of the social medias, I'm at DexBonus, DEXBONUS. I also have two things to shout out really quick. First thing is that we have an Indiegogo right now for MangaPod. If any of you have watched MangaPod, we're trying to get everybody out here so that we can all do a panel at Anime Expo, but one of our hosts is from Australia. So we're trying to raise some money to get him out here. If you go to indiegogo.com/project/MangaPod goes to Anime Expo. Then
you need to sort your fucking branding out.
I didn't make it. Look, I'll tweet it out.
ScanCat.
Go look at my Twitter,
Cat.
and I'll tweet out the link once this is over. And also, about 30 minutes after this is over, I'm going to be on Mindflame's Twitch channel for the Post Optional podcast. So you can come
Riding
watch
the
that.
coattails.
Mm-hmm.
The Post Optional podcast.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's been doing that.
John, we can form the pre-optional podcast.
I gotta see where this is going.
Yep.
A damn podcastery.
Oh dear. And cross-dressing. So.
Yeah, of course.
Indeed. What do I do? Things. I've got.
I'm tweeting it right now. I'm tweeting the Indiegogo right now. Okay. Now
Okay. Yes. Check that out. Yeah. So forthcoming videos as usual. I'm trying to get back on this 2 videos a week. For those asking about the health thing, I actually have my surgery consult tomorrow. I'm hoping to get the surgery soon afterwards, which hopefully means I'll be kind of back to my normal self of just being grumpy and active and making a lot of videos, and actually you won't really notice the difference.
But this time without a bleeding anus, so it's
I mean that's always nice. It's a bit inconvenient. So without that would be great. Also, not dying would be awesome. So we're just going to try and sort that out. Games I'm looking at. Well, there's going to be a lot coming over the next one release we actually completely forgot about, by the way, is Transistor, which is coming out in a week. Mm-hmm. I do have code for that. The embargo date for that is launch day, I assume, because they're trying to keep story spoilers to a bare minimum. I will be most likely releasing a launch day video of that. I don't think I'm going to miss out on that opportunity. You know how much I like Bastion, so this is a game I'm definitely excited about. I will, of course, be looking at Dynasty Warriors, which will be amusing, because that's diving into a franchise I have very little experience with, so I'm going to piss off a lot of people. It will be brilliant. Outside of that, there'll be the usual mailbox stuff, content patches coming out on a fairly regular basis. I may do a couple more videos on Dawngate, mostly because a lot of us are playing it right now, and it would be kind of cool to do a Dawngate video or two, I think. And of course, there's a Guns of Icarus stuff that's coming out in the next couple of weeks, which is, again, another promo campaign that we're doing a promotional event with them, whereby a bunch of us get together and blow each other out of the sky while making guffawing noises and firing cannons, which is in itself always entertaining. And of course, Clan Wars continues, I believe, on the 17th. I think that's my schedule for that. That's when the next match will be for Clan Wars. That's going to be an MLG.
27th, I want to say.
Yeah, EG are playing this month, actually. They had a little hiatus, but you are back on the bandwagon there. It is StarTale versus My Insanity on May the 17th, followed by Axiom versus MVP on Sunday. And then EG gets Axiom on May the 23rd, which should be interesting. So, yeah, there's plenty of stuff there. Please do check out the forum thread, and of course, Liquipedia usually has updated schedule, as does mlg.tv/shoutcraft, and all spoiler-free VODs can be found on my StarCraft channel, which is youtube.com/TotalBiscuit. The latest one is IVD versus Root, and I'd recommend watching the 2v2 because it's hilarious. And big shout out to Axiom sponsors, because might as well. I'm here. Big shout out to PlanetSide 2, Wise to Keyboards, and r/Bitcoin for their continued sponsorship of the team. And I think that pretty much wraps things up. Thank you very much for watching the Co-optional podcast. Do remember to watch Co-optional Animated. The latest episode is the one that many people have been waiting for, which is our talk about old things and AOL Instant Messenger and Betamax and nonsense like that. That's all available on youtube.com/Polaris. There's also a little playlist that I keep up to date on my page, youtube.com/CynicalBrit. And check us out on social media, Twitter. That's twitter.com/TotalBiscuit, twitter.com/iNcontrol, and twitter.com/DexBonus.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to that, actually. Guys, it's a lifelong dream of mine. I'm not able to tweet this just yet because I haven't got the guts, but I'm trying to pass Trisha Helfer in Twitter followers for no other reason than she's the voice of Kerrigan and also the sexiest woman outside of my wife on the entire planet. She's at 70-some-odd thousand Twitter followers, so I'm just a couple thousand off, so I need your guys' help. I don't know why this is a life goal of mine. I've never interacted with her. She probably thinks I'm creepy and weird, but I need to beat her. I need to beat her on Twitter.
Help.
So, yeah, please follow me.
Make it happen.
Beat her on Twitter, by the way. That's worded really weird. I need to win on Twitter. There we go. Mm-hmm. Still less awkward than Jesse Cox and Felicia Day. Thank you.
That's very true, yeah. I'm glad that EG is getting into the competitive Twitter space, though. That's important. That's definitely a place where I feel you could do really well. All right, folks.
We need to win all things.
That is us pretty much done for the Co-optional podcast. Thank you very much for watching this hopefully extended edition. We apologize for the Twitch issues. They are actually not our fault this time, and there's fuck all we could do about it. But hopefully you enjoyed the VOD nonetheless. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time. Goodbye, good night.